Well, hello everyone. Happy Wednesday, July 29th, 7:16 p.m. Wow. Today's going to be a wonderful day. Every day is always wonderful though, to be honest. But today's especially so. One, because, well, I see my cat making his way over here. And that's always a good sign that my cats want to hang out with me. Oh my god, today started off with a bang, quite literally, because my freaking cat, the same one that we see popping his head up every once in a while here. Actually, can I see him on the other camera? Ah, he's not on the frame. This little cheeky bastard jumped up onto my kitchen counter, which he knows he's not supposed to do. And I had my mason jar with my iced coffee from the other day on the countertop, and he decided it was a perfect way to wake me up by knocking it onto the floor. Crashed everywhere, glass everywhere, you know, the usual stuff. Anyone who's got cats, I think, is just it's a given. This is not the first time, but yeah, what a way to start the day. But today is a wonderful day because we have officially hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. To be fair, we hit it yesterday in the evening, super late in the evening, but then it would fluctuate, you know, like at one point it hit 10K and then it dropped down. That's just the name of the game, right? I think it might, even now, it might be a little bit premature. For all I know, someone's going to unsub any second and will drop back down. But the point is, I still wanted to dedicate today's stream and just today as like a day of like, hey, look, we hit one of our targets. So yeah, we've achieved 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. That doesn't amount to anything real as far as I know. It's just, it literally is just a, you know, a mental win. But I mean, I take every win I can, to be honest. So firstly, Fedorevsky, thank you very much. You said howdy, congratulations. Thank you, back at you. I appreciate it, man. And yeah, thanks for being a part of this community and, you know, tuning into these live streams. All of it goes a long ways to, you know, growth, success, and all of that. So I appreciate your presence, man. And over on the Twitch side, Daytor, thank you very much. Danke schön, Daytor. You said something in German, which I don't know. Oh, and then what a coincidence, or not a coincidence, just a, you know, it's kind of funny, but apparently today is also, Twitch is telling me that today is my affiliate anniversary. So apparently this is the 1-year anniversary of when we hit Twitch affiliate status, which actually was a little bit more of a big achievement in the sense that it comes with it like some, you know, there was like features that unlocked and benefits and stuff like that. So yeah, all right, today's a big day in many respects. Dator says, and good evening, actually from the Chiemgau Alps near Munich. Oh man, that sounds pretty amazing. So hopefully you're there on vacation or something. I don't know if it's ski season in July, but whatever you're doing there, I hope you enjoy some beautiful nature. Nala says hi, so she's popped over here instead of Kimbap, so let's go say hi to Nala. Oh, there's Kimbap. All right, we got both of them there. Let me just annoy her since she's closer. So yeah, we're kind of getting full house here. It's gonna be a fun time. So thank you guys again, I appreciate it. All right, let me bring this back over here. And then we got DTK, do to know over on YouTube says, congrats, Yobel. So happy for you. Thank you very much. I'm happy for me too, I guess. I mean, I'm always happy for me, right? But no, thank you very much, DTK. Long time no see. I hope you've been well. But yeah, it's, you know, what can you do? You just keep on making videos. Hopefully I keep creating content that you guys find enjoyable. Hopefully our videos will, you know, be able to be in front of more people's eyeballs and they like it, and that's so on and so forth, right? That's how it works. So Dator says vacation. Oh, well, awesome. Enjoy summer vacation. All right. So besides all of that, anything else I wanted to kind of quickly update you guys on? Oh, I'm working through episode 2 of my travel series. My most recent 2 months travel across Munich, Germany, and then Uganda and Tanzania. Very, very excited. This is the one I mentioned. I'm working with my editor. So it's been a fun project to have him on board, figuring out like, you know, what's the best way to put it all together. So I'm doing all the finishing touches now. It's probably going to take me a couple days to like kind of work things out, but I'm very excited for you guys to check it out. And I've already recorded episode 3, and I'm working on episode 4 as we speak. So we got some fun videos on the way. I hope you guys will enjoy. It's going to be a full kind of, we got different camera angles. We're going to get some mixture of nice photos and videos. If you've been tuning into my live streams throughout, you will also be able to finally see some of those final images, right? Those photos that we had edited during the streams, they will also be showcased as part of the videos. So let's see, where was it? Like even, yeah, so obviously I'm starting with the shoe bill. So a lot of these photos should appear as part of the videos. So I look forward to that. For today, we're going to do some gorilla shots. Where's the latest photo? Oh yeah, we edited this photo. It was okay. You know, it doesn't actually look that bad. I don't do a lot of black and whites, but this one, it's okay. I salvaged it a little bit, is what I'm saying. Separately, some other quick updates. I've been working on some videos behind the scenes. I've been mentioning it on stream as well. I think I can show you guys briefly. I've just got it all locked in, so you guys are getting the sneak peek of my next video, or maybe not my next video, but this is a video I've been working through as a concept, as a way to kind of promote Nikon as well, because I am a Nikon shooter. I love all my Nikon gear. And so this one, I put a bit of a script together talking about the power of the 85mm lens. So yeah, I kind of went through all of my footage, try to see if I can find the right ones that would line up with my dialogue. And then it's going to be just a nice little photo montage. So nothing too crazy, right? But it'll just be a way for me to showcase what are some of the photos that I captured with an 85mm lens. So I'll just kind of speed through these so you guys can see. I still need to add some like text overlays and stuff like that, but I have at least synchronized it to a nice little soundtrack. And so you'll see these are just mixtures of shots across my past 2 years of travel since I've had the 85mm lens. And one thing is I do spend a lot of time I do my best to synchronize the photos to match with whatever I'm saying. So as my voiceover talks about certain types of scenes or types of, you know, like the importance of the 85, I try to showcase the right photos to map to exactly what I'm talking about. We got Kavai in the chat, says, hello, Yobel. Happy 10K YouTube subs. Yes, thank you very much. That's a huge milestone. I'm so happy for you. Thank you very much, Kavai. I appreciate it very much. It's, I don't know what the right term, what the way to describe it would be. I keep thinking cathartic, but I don't think that's the right word. It feels really good, though. It feels good that we're growing, not shrinking, at the very least. Now, obviously, time will tell. Maybe we will lose some subs here and there. But I am happy to hit 10K. I couldn't tell you. I think it's more a psychological thing than anything, because what's the difference between having 9,000 something subs and 10,000, right? Just having that one extra digit in the sub count, it starts to play tricks in your mind, my mind, that you are now officially some, like, I don't know, like, oh, you're a bit more of a serious YouTuber. Now, obviously a long ways to go, right? You know, like the successful YouTubers, you're thinking people, I guess maybe 50K subs would be like the minimum in my mind when I think of like who is a successful YouTuber, like full-time, professional, whatever. But of course, then you've got the ones that are in the 100K plus, right? And eventually 1 million. So we'll see. You know, we got a long journey. This has taken me about 2 years to get to 10K subs. Now, it's not like a full-on 2 years. I think about 2 years ago is when I started. I created my YouTube, I think like 2.5 years ago, something like that. But then for the better part of the like 2024, 2025, I was basically traveling almost nonstop. We were talking like anywhere from 2 weeks to sometimes 3 weeks and sometimes the entire month. I was traveling to different countries so I could capture as much content, create as much things, and also for a few different projects here and there. So I wasn't able to consistently post on YouTube. It was just more of a thing that in between my travels, I was seeing if I could, you know, quickly edit some of my footage and then post on it. But it was never something where I could say like, okay, I'm dedicated to the craft of YouTube. Then when I came back and when you guys first saw me on my very first live stream, which was a year ago, last summer, that's where I kind of paused on all my travels. I still had a few projects here and there, but for the most part, I finally had like, 1 to 2 months without any trips. So then I was like, okay, I have no excuses. I could just sit my ass down like you see me now and just start pumping away through what do I say? It was like 100 terabytes worth of footage. So then that's kind of where I do view myself as a more, okay, now I'm like a proper dedication to YouTube journey. So that's like about a year of like a dedicated YouTube, but I just like to say about 2 years, right? It's in terms of the grand scheme of things. Point is, it's been a fun journey. So then the question becomes, if it took us 2 years or so to get to 10K, what happens next? Will it take me 2 more freaking years to, get 10K more subs? I don't know. I would like to believe there is a bit of like a snowball effect, I hope, where as you gain momentum, as you get through at least a few of the initial hurdles and challenges or, whatever, as you get through some of those, I would like to believe there's like a bit of an inertia that builds, that kind of like, takes effect. And then from there, it might be a little bit easier. The wheels have been greased so that each subsequent doubling or increase or milestone becomes a little bit more achievable as long as we stay dedicated. So that's my hope. I have no idea, but the point is, all of this is not possible without you guys being a part of this. The live streaming definitely has helped quite a bit, in my opinion, because it's allowed me to voice my opinion, sit here and make this entertaining as well, so I don't like lose my mind just being in front of the computer all day talking to myself. I could do it. I got my 2 cats to also kind of keep me company, but that's not the same. So point is, thank you guys. So today is no different than any other day in the sense that, what is the point of my streams? The point of my streams is to basically just try to be productive on my end. And that mainly includes photo editing and video editing. So nothing changes there. I've got a shit ton of photos to go through. Oh yeah, I'll just kind of quickly show you guys the rest of these photos here. So, wait, there we go. So these are all photos that I captured with the 85mm lens. So again, as I was kind of reviewing all the shots taken with this particular lens, this particular focal length, I was realizing there is at least some kind of a story I could tell. There's at least some kind of a YouTube video I should put together. It would keep, because from my side, I am also trying to constantly figure out how can I create content on YouTube, and it doesn't always have to be like, super complicated 10-minute long videos, 15-minute, 20-minute videos. I just need to get more comfortable creating stuff quickly, with intention, but like, doing it in a faster manner, and also just experimenting with different styles. So this is one that I thought kind of fits nicely with who I am and what I do. Since I do a lot of photography, and since I've been editing so many photos recently, I figured, okay, then let me just mix in photos. No need to go too crazy with some like, visual effects and whatever else. It's just meant to be a soothing kind of soundtrack as you see me kind of play through some of my top photos that I took with the 85, and you'll hear my voice as I kind of, recite, or as I read a script that I put together talking about what the 85 does as an art form, as a perspective for photographers. So you can see here there's a trend. These are all these photos that I lined up where it's showing how with an 85, it does something that I couldn't normally do from a wildlife photography standpoint. So this is all from the lens of a wildlife photographer picking up a new lens and like going from a tele lens where I'm used to shooting 400 millimeters, that kind of stuff, then going into these like wider angles. And what that's taught me. And one of the things that it's taught me is, photos like this, where with an 85, you're actually able to show depth in a way that you couldn't usually do with the 400 or 600 or whatever, where if you're shooting with the 400, it's usually a very tight portraiture, right? Maybe it's a close crop of the face of the wildlife or whatever it might be, generally speaking. Obviously you can always adjust from there, but that tends to be what you're getting with that kind of a focal length. But then with this 85, I have the luxury of being able to shoot a bit far away still, where you can still make out the subject off in the midground or background, but I can show more depth especially with the shallow aperture. So then now I can actually show that there's an interaction involved. It's not just a single subject anymore. I can actually show an interaction across space, whether it's the photographer in the foreground or the subject in the midground and how they're looking at each other, or whatever the scenario might be, as well as even the background. With an 85, because of that wider angle, I can actually make the background still part of the story, depending on where I'm standing. So over here, I think is one of my better examples where now you've got all three layers. You've got a blurriness, so you kind of see the subject in the foreground. Then you've got the camels in the middle ground in focus. And then you've got the mountains all the way off in the distance. But then all three kind of plays a part to create the story. So just an example of where I think the 85 really shines is it's pretty versatile. I can do all the wildlife shots. I can get some landscape. I can get in between. And then the key messaging I think I put into all of this was that what the 85s taught me, or what I enjoy about the 85 compared to when I normally shoot with, let's say, a 400 for wildlife, is that with the 400, you're shooting from a distance. You're basically spying on the subject you're shooting, right? Whereas with an 85, it's not a telephoto lens. It's not enough of a tele lens that allows you to stay hidden. So in order to get some of the shots that I've been able to, including this chimpanzee photo, it meant that the subject was aware of my presence, and it essentially allowed me to be there. And I think there's something profound about that from my journey as a wildlife photographer, feeling like I always have to be invisible, to understanding or experiencing a world where the wildlife actually welcomes you in, or at least accepts you enough that you're in the environment with the subject. And so the chimpanzees, the gorillas, that's been a huge part of like my thrill, as part of like my evolution as a wildlife photographer, being absorbed fully within their world, including to the point where they can actually, charge right at me if I'm not careful and all that fun stuff. So that's kind of been why I feel like more and more the 85 is actually perhaps my favorite lens as a wildlife photographer. So this video is almost finished. I have to work on a few different things. I mentioned there's some text overlays I need to add. Then I'll have to figure out what's a good catchy title for this video. I'll probably make it a little bit controversial. I say controversial. I want to try to see if I can make it clickbaity. Something about maybe the 85 and why it's the best for wildlife photography. I don't know. Something like that, because it's like, who in their right mind would ever say an 85mm lens is the lens to use for wildlife photography? You're out of your goddamn mind to say that, right? So I figured that could be a little bit clickbaity, but I kind of stand on business. Harry's Dev says, love the content. Thank you very much, Harry. I appreciate you saying so. Thanks for also putting it in the chat. Thanks for being a part of the chat here. Yeah, today's a good day. We're just celebrating my official 10K sub milestone over on YouTube. Now the question becomes, when can we hit 10K subs on Twitch? Oh my god, that would be, obviously then we've officially made it. But thank you, Harry. I appreciate it very much. Today I'll be editing photos mostly. I was just kind of showcasing a little bit behind the scenes of one of my YouTube videos that I'm almost finished with. And it's just going to be like my homage to the 85mm lens. And then shortly after that, I'm working on the 35mm lens. Where do I have it here somewhere? No, I don't. Yeah, secondly, I'm working on the 35mm lens video. So this one will be obviously a different script, different perspective in terms of like the insights I've gleaned since shooting with the 35. But I think that's also quite interesting. I felt it was interesting enough to put into a YouTube video as well, especially for someone that's going more from photography to videography. I feel like the 35 has become kind of like the sweet spot for storytelling. So we'll see. That's my initial thoughts right now. Harry says, well done, man. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, well, but it's well done, but we're very far away from being successful. Like I said, the 10K doesn't actually give you anything at all. It's just a number. They don't give a plaque for, I don't know, when does YouTube give plaques? I feel like it's got to be at, I imagine it maybe starts at 100K. Would they give out plaques at 50? I have no idea. I guess we can just Google it. Peter, yo, what's happening? We got Peter in the chat, says, hey, back at you. Thanks for being here. Happy Wednesday to you. Yo, we got Honyasu in the chat as well. Honyasu says 100K is silver, 1 million is gold. They don't give like a bronze. How's it going? Thanks again, Honyasu, for being here. I appreciate it. 10 million is a diamond. Okay, so they go silver, gold, diamond, ruby is 50 million, you say? Jeez. They don't give like a consolation plaque? Why is there no YouTube bronze? Here, let's look this up now. How are you doing, Honyasu? Bronze plaque? YouTube does not have an official bronze plaque or bronze play button in its Creator Awards program. The official awards start at 100,000 subs with the silver play button. Yep, so this is what Honyasu was saying. Oh wait, you might have missed... Oh wait, you called it ruby. On Google AI, it's calling it red diamond. I think ruby sounds better, so I'm assuming you're right. Maybe this is like a AI thing. Honyasu is doing great, learning DaVinci for photo editing. Oh, nice. I know you mentioned that yesterday. Let us know how that photo editing is going on DaVinci. I will eventually start doing that. Like I said, I just need to get through at least 1 or 2 of these country photo edits, and then I can start exploring that. Alternatives for 10,000 subscribers. It's almost like it knows. That's what I'm interested in. No official award. YouTube skipped a 10,000 subscriber tier because the sheer number of eligible channels. Come on, don't dilute my success, why don't you? It makes it too costly to manufacture and ship official metal plaques. Fair enough. Third-party replicas. Many content creators buy custom-made or 3D printed bronze milestone from independent sellers on platforms like Etsy to celebrate reaching 10K. You know, I'm kind of laughing as I read that out loud. But I don't actually, whatever. It's like you should, I think there's nothing wrong with creating your own celebrations or like, you know, celebrating your own success. I don't think enough of us do it. I definitely don't do it enough. It requires a big mental shift to like, you know, almost say like, you should be proud of yourself. You should be super confident and cocky even about who you are. But it doesn't come natural to everyone, so... So yeah, maybe what I'm trying to say is maybe I should make a bronze plaque for 10K. Yeah. But anyways, Honyasu says tint is my enemy. Tint is my enemy in some regards as well, I would say. So I think I feel your pain on that. If you're saying it's specifically for DaVinci, there's some issues with kind of like the controlling the tint. One lesson we learned when it comes to color grading, I guess I can show it here. So let's say if I just grab I'll just grab a random shot. Let's see. One of the tricks that we learned from Colin Kelly when it comes to adjusting for your colors was the concept of linear gain. I believe that's it. So like if you're in DaVinci, I don't know how the photo editing works if you're in a completely different tab the whole time you're editing. But if you're in this color tab, let's say you have a node that's to control your colors, like your white balance or whatever. What he did is you right click the node, you go to gamma, and then you switch it to linear. And I say all this without knowing why. I don't know the reasons. I can only relay and copy what he said to do. But basically you switch this over the gamma, you switch it to linear. I don't actually know what the original one is. Let's see. What is it originally on? Oh, originally it's just stuck to use timeline. So basically you switch it from use timeline to linear. Once you switch it to linear, then over here you go to your color wheels, like your primaries, or what's the name of this? You go to your color wheels section, and then I think you have to drop the loom mix all the way to 0. Let me see. Yeah. So default it's on 100. You make that luminance mix all the way to 0. And then when you want to change colors, all you use is this the gain wheel. So then you use this wheel here to do anything to do with like, you know, adjusting your colors. So for example, I'll click on this dot, and then you'll see as I move it around. Here, let's make it a bit larger. This is then what I'll use if I want to kind of do a bit more refined approach to getting the right colors here, whether it's on the tints or the hues or whatever you call it. But yeah, that was one little trick that I learned from watching one of Cullen Kelly's videos. And again, I wouldn't be able to tell you why that is the way it's supposed to be, but I trust Cullen Kelly as a, you know, professional who knows way more than I do. It gets, you know, he's an actual, gets paid to tell people how to color stuff. So anyways, that's my one lesson I learned. Let me just reset that. Honyasa says PewDiePie and T-Series got a custom ruby, but Mr. Beast is just 10 million with the red button. PewDiePie, is he the biggest YouTuber? I remember there was a whole thing years ago where he was competing against T-Series. T-Series is that like Indian channel, right? It's like a conglomerate or something. For some reason, I thought Mr. Beast would be the most subscribers, but okay. Peter Hunter says YouTube viewers communities are fewer into arts. Sad face. Instead, pathologic. What is pathologic? Pathological? Are you talking about pathological streamers? Or is pathologic a genre? I'm going to assume pathological. Let me read that. Instead, pathological streamers gain millions. World is mad. But hobbies communities are great people mostly. You can't have both, sadly. I hear you. I think Twitch is the same, by the way, Peter, where like if you think about what is successful, what do most people want to watch on Twitch platform as well? I mean, there's not many like arts and crafts related things, I would say. It's still predominantly whether it's like gaming or IRL stuff, which again I do want to do very soon. But yeah, like photography stuff, it's not like really, it's definitely a niche. But I kind of find value in that as well. Because yeah, like you said, it's a bit more of like a community. As you find people who are like-minded, you're not like, you know, dealing with people who are there just, I don't know, there's something cool about meeting people in a more niche environment. Because then it does feel more, intimate's the wrong word for it, but it feels more real and that we share something in common that's not necessarily common. So, but listen, we're also here to try to, let's see, we want to break the mold. We want to see if we can change things up, right? Nobody says it has to be that way. Nobody says that YouTube can't eventually start going towards a certain direction that works with your niche, or same thing with Twitch. Honyasa says, I'm in color but never use the node. My node is only one. Yeah, fair enough. Like I said, since I was only using DaVinci for color grading, I haven't understood yet how to properly use the photo editing tab. So it'll be our next exercise once I get further along with, you know, with all my other projects. But we do have this really nice shot here of the 85mm lens. I had fun kind of color grading this up a little bit. It's a bit of denoise effect, so I think it's going to be a bit too slow. But look at that. This is the beautiful 85mm f1.2 S lens attached to my Nikon Z6 III. So look forward to that video, guys. It's probably going to take a few days or so, but we're almost there. All right. So besides editing some photos, like I said, we've got some gorilla photos lined up for today. So we only got through one photo from the gorilla side. So now we move on to the next one. As we edit, as per usual, I've got a bunch of YouTube videos lined up for us to watch. Speaking of Cullen Kelly, the first video I have here is from Cullen Kelly. It says, Pro Colorist Breaks Down Obsession Part 1. I think that's kind of an interesting one because I don't know if people have watched Obsession yet. If you haven't seen Obsession at this point, that's on you. If there's any spoilers, I won't spoil anything. It's just a horror movie, okay? Can you really spoil a horror movie? But I thought it was a really fun movie to watch. I don't generally watch horror. Horror is typically not my genre. I do like thrillers though. But that movie definitely scared the shit out of me. So there, you know, props to them. So I'm curious to break down, and I thought it looked very cinematic. I thought the way they shot everything looked very nice. But I'm a layman, so I'm curious if Cullen Kelly's gonna be like, "Yo, these guys broke every rule in the book," blah blah blah. So we're gonna watch some videos, we're gonna edit some photos, and we're just gonna chill. Feel free to chill with me, ask me any questions. We're gonna chill with my cats as well. Are both my cats near me? Oh, we only got Nala. I see the trend. When Nala sleeps on this bed, I don't think Kimbap's been sleeping on this bed recently. So then he kind of just F's off if she takes over this one. Yeah, it is what it is. Okay, let me take a sippy. All right. Let me pause the music. We're going to get this started now. Oh, and I fixed the recording thing. Probably on tomorrow's stream, I want to try yet again. Because Twitch, they have like a vertical stream option now that's supposed to run simultaneously to your typical landscape mode. However, it hasn't been working for me, as per usual. So I didn't want to mess with it today because I really wanted to record my screen when I'm editing these gorilla shots just in case. But maybe tomorrow's stream, I'll try to activate the thing again and see if we can get the vertical mode at the same time as the landscape. Same with YouTube. I think YouTube, it might just roll out. I think it said it'll just roll out at some point to me. But they also have this option to do vertical on top of landscape, like doing a dual stream within the platform. But anyways, okay, let's just do this. Let's watch Cullen Kelly, full screen this biatch, and edit.
Obsession is having a full-on moment right now because of the outsized results that it's achieved with a limited budget. A lot went into that, but one of the biggest pieces is the color grade because of the tension and anxiety that it creates. In this video, I'm breaking down how those emotions were achieved, and by the time we're done, you'll understand what I do as a pro colorist to lift visual ideas and craft images that punch way above budget. Be sure you stick around for the last image because it's a perfect example of why following the rules is sometimes a terrible idea. Okay, let's get into
Oh man, that was one of those creepy shots too, where like the eye is just glinting.
Why following the rules?
Yeah, man, that was a crazy,
terrible idea. Okay, let's get into this, and we're going to take a look at some images from Shot Deck of this movie and see what we can see what we can learn from the images. So first of all, I really love the way this movie looks. It's got a really great grade on it, and I want to see what trends and patterns we can observe from the movie and things that we might be able to lift and apply into our own work. So we're going to start by talking about contrast, because contrast, whenever you hear me talking about color grading, anytime on this channel, you'll hear me start and end with contrast, because that really is the foundation of everything else that we do when we color grade. So when I look at these images and just start flipping through them, there's definitely a filmic contrast curve going on here. Now, what do I mean when I say that?
Contrast
what I mean is that when I look at the middle of the image,
filmic contrast curve. Okay, in the video it says strong key to fill ratio, but nothing clips in the shadows or stings in the highlights. Ooh, is that a terminology colorists use? Stings in the highlights. I'm going to try to use it in my vocabulary. So we want to achieve a filmic contrast curve where nothing clips in the shadows or stings in the highlights. All right. I got to say it out loud so eventually, you know, it sticks in my head as well. Harry asks, do you have any tips for productivity? I am editing a video and sometimes it's so hard to concentrate. I don't understand how documentary channels edit so much with such little time between uploads. I'm happy to share my thoughts on this. I don't know if maybe this will resonate with you or not, because I believe I'm someone that has ADHD undiagnosed. But the running joke that I have is that I went to the doctor to do the diagnosis, but then when they said I need to go back to the office for like a second visit, and then there was some annoying thing that I had to take care of with my like health insurance. Basically, there's like some paperwork and, you know, hey, if you want to do the second, you got to do this. I just like could not be bothered. Like my brain shut off and I never ended up going back. So I don't know, that kind of feels fitting to be someone with ADHD, not actually, you know, getting too distracted or eventually not wanting to go and then like not going. So anyways, that aside, the way I try my best to be productive is I very much am a multitasker. So like in front of me, I've got my 3 screens right now. I've got my phone. When I'm not streaming, one monitor is like for, let's say, my video edits or photo edits. The other monitor might be on like, well, these days it might be like on Claude or some chat GPT type thing where maybe I'm trying to ask it questions for like helping me with some project. So then I'll be doing like kind of 2 projects at once. Then in front of me, I have my phone, and that phone will be playing YouTube, or yeah, generally like some kind of YouTube video or something like that. I'm catching up on something that's happening in the US. So then I'm listening to that while I'm visually editing on this, while I'm waiting for this thing to finish. And then sometimes I'll also have a movie playing at the same time. So I might have Netflix on this monitor or whatever. That's like the only way I've learned how to be productive, is like I kind of fill my brain to 100% capacity is the way I think about it. It's like, perhaps, let's just assume I have ADHD just for the sake of this, hypothetical here. Or let's say if I have ADHD, where if I do one task, there's a chance that I'm going to get so distracted or so bored, I can't maintain focus on task number 1. What I've done to kind of solve for that since I was young is that's why I multitask. So if task number 1 takes up, let's say 15% of my brain power, and it's just so boring that if I only did that 15% task and nothing else, no distractions, I would want to I would just lose my mind. So then I fill in the 85% with, like I said, Netflix, another task running at the same time, mindless stuff and a bit more focused stuff, until I'm closer to let's say 75% or higher of my brain being utilized. So then at that point, I feel like I'm at synergy. Like I'm in enough chaos mode where I'm just working on everything at the same time. So that's a little bit peculiar. I would not necessarily recommend it for most people. But okay, let me just keep reading what you said. You're editing a video and sometimes it's so hard to concentrate. I don't understand how documentary. Yeah. Okay. So then let's say if I'm editing a video, sometimes I just take breaks, right? Like you just have to step out, and like sometimes it actually helps you. So if I just stand up, literally just stand up, take a quick little walk, or I play with my cats, which also helps, or I go to the kitchen and maybe I was like, okay, let me make a coffee break or whatever it is. And then just like taking that few minutes to step aside and then come back, that tends to be just enough to give you like a fresh like a fresh perspective on things as well. And then, continue on with whatever you're doing. But yeah, if it's like you're editing something and you could not be bothered, it sucks. Like it's not something you're into by any means. That is where I try to multitask. So then just like put on that Netflix video over on the side. If you're editing a video where audio is not important, well, then I make sure my auditory sensory is like fully engaged with whatever, right? And then vice versa. When you need audio, but you don't have to pay attention to the visual, then I let something else be my visual. And then I just I work in that way. I don't know if that's ever something people should ever do. But yeah. But I work slow and methodically, I think. So yeah, we got people in the chat like Fedorevsky who, he's probably a better person to ask, because like he'll go out on a shoot and then in one day he's already uploaded the video onto YouTube or something. I'm like, yo, how do you do that? Harry says, I probably have it too. I've been using my own channel to try and build up my editing style, but I can't script at all. I've asked my friend to script because I'm horrendous at this. You know what's helped me script is AI. Right. So I'm not one of those who am completely against different technologies or things that are shifting tectonically in our society. But for me, it's like as a solo creator, I have to use everything that I have within my reach. And so AI, like let's say using Claude. So I'll talk to Claude all the time about like, hey, here's my dialogue. So I'll feed it my script. I'll say like, this is what I'm thinking of. Here's my thoughts around the 85mm lens. I think this is profound because of this, and that. And then I'll like ask it to review. And then it just becomes like a way to, improve my stuff without having to reach out to other people who have their own deadlines. Maybe they'll reach out to you or respond to you in a day, stuff like that. AI is reliable. It's in front of me. I use it. So that's helped me be productive as well. You said, I have asked my friend to script because I'm horrendous at it, so hopefully I can move on to bigger editing projects and move on to better types of documentaries. That was one of the issues, the video I've been editing, it's stuff that I haven't enjoyed. Yeah. Another way to kind of be productive, I think, is if you actually put a deadline out into the world, like it could be just like a deadline. You write it on a piece of paper. It could be you set it some timer, or you put it on your computer. It could be telling someone vocally, or like tell them specifically, I'm going to get this done by this day, because that's also a thing for me. I'm a huge procrastinator. So sometimes unfortunately, there has to be a fire lit under my ass before I actually like, start getting my shit together. So you basically create everything. You create the scenario, the environment for that fire to be lit, so that you basically force yourself to meet your deadlines. So, I wish if I give it more thought, maybe I can think of better tips or things around how to be productive. But again, I'm not the best person necessarily to talk to about that. But I think like a public accountability helps. So even doing these live streams for me has been great, because oftentimes on these streams, I can tell you guys, hey, this is what I'm going to work on, or I'm going to try to get this done by the end of the stream, or I'm going to push out that video in 2 days time. And it's not to say that I always meet those deadlines, but once I put it out into the world, in some ways you are kind of trying to manifest it, and you're creating ways that it forces you to have to meet your deadlines. Otherwise, you're just a liar. Nobody likes a liar, So anyways, thanks for the question. If I could be more helpful, I'll try to be, but unfortunately my mind is a bit too wired in a weird way. And because everyone I talk to, nobody does what I do. And I don't say that in a way of like hubris or anything. I just mean like, unfortunately, I have no one to rely on for like seeing what is ways that I should do things differently as well. Yo, we got Elvis in the chat. Elvis says, just tuned in. Well, thank you for tuning in. Happy Wednesday. Today's going to be a chill stream. I'm just watching some videos, editing some gorilla photos, but we're just here to celebrate hitting 10K subs. You know what? I'm afraid to even check my stats because it might drop back down. Because like the way YouTube works, it's like you win a few subs, and then all of a sudden a few people drop off for various reasons, and then it gradually goes up. It's not like a linear thing. But thank you very much, Elvis, for being here. I'm glad to see your name pop up regularly. Harry says, thank you, that was really good. I do use 2 monitors and have stuff on my other screen, but I can't watch. Annoyingly, I can only listen. Elvis says, congrats. Thank you very much. Thank you. Another thing that could be useful is like, which is funny because I haven't touched this in a while. It's literally collected dust. But what I used to do, and I should probably do this again, I have this like whiteboard thing. I bought this online, but it's like this big whiteboard. I guess it's like a blackboard. I don't know. But basically it allows me to just physically write my to-do list of stuff. And then since it's physical, and then I can wipe it out when I finish it, it just helps me to kind of keep in, because I'll forget what my to-do list is, like what my task list is. I lose track all the time. So that was like one way that really helped. Unfortunately, I haven't touched it in a while, so I need to practice what I preach a little bit better. But yeah, thank you again, Elvis. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll hit 20K any day now, right? Any day. Yo, we got Swiss Army in the chat. Swiss says, I always try to treat personal projects or research projects as if I'm being paid to do it. Setting deadlines is important for us people with ADHD. Yes. That's good advice as well. So yeah, treating it almost like you have a boss, and the boss is basically telling you like you have this deadline. If you don't, you're going to get fired. That's a good way to approach it. Speaking of which, Swiss Army, hope you're doing well. I should probably think of that advice as well for our conversations. I have a call with someone from Acilia on Friday, and then, but yeah, we should definitely sync up like literally maybe this weekend or whenever you're free in the next few days, just so like we can just like map out November. Because in my mind, unfortunately, like I said, I procrastinate. November is going to come any second now, unfortunately. So I know there's a laundry list of things that'll be needed to be, taken care of before we say, this trip is ready to go and all that fun stuff. And I'm sure there's a lot of logistical things we need to chat about. But obviously it would be great if you can join. I think it'll be an amazing experience. And then hopefully it becomes something that continues onwards. Swiss says, Adam Savage from Tested has some really great advice on self. Why do I know the name, but I don't know who that is? Adam Savage. That's why, this guy. From Tested? I thought he was the guy from that other, like from the TV show, no? Am I mixing it up? Why am I thinking he was on some show, Mythbusters or something? Or am I like racist to white people? Is this like not the dude? Adam Savage, the Tested team. Okay. Who are the dudes from Mythbusters? Oh, okay. Okay. I'm not racist. but by questioning if I'm racist, maybe I actually am racist because I didn't know. The original most famous hosts of Mythbusters are Adam Savage and Jamie Heineman. Is this the show? Because was this on cable or something? I didn't have cable growing up, so there's a lot of shows I never got to watch. But one of these shows, didn't like the people die? Or like there was some weird thing where a number of people passed away or something, and then I don't know. Maybe it's this one. Oh yeah, okay. Grant Imahara, who sadly passed away in 2020. Oh, I guess it's just one. I don't know why. I thought it was like something where like everyone died off on that show. Well, either way, okay, so Adam Savage. Gotcha. Shows how little I know. Swiss says, yeah, November's going to come way faster than we think it will. Yes. Mythbusters, but that is old now. Elvis says, how long have you been in Uganda? Since I saw the documentary 3 months ago before buying my ZR. I was in Uganda twice, back in March and April. And so now what are we at? July? So it's been a few months at this point. But yeah, and then I'll be going back there in October. I'm taking a couple with me for a couple weeks. And then possibly, maybe I'll be going there in like August, September. I kind of put a pitch out there. I want to do some bit more like film work. And so I just put my hat in the ring in terms of like, I just emailed some people seeing if they can help me logistically. So one, I want to make a short film on the shoebill stork, but specifically the guides that take you through the wetlands, the swamps. Because that's like pretty low-hanging fruit for me. I've done this a number of times. It's not that expensive of an activity. It's more just like, can I find the right contacts of who can I interview? Can I, all that kind of stuff. So anyways, I'm trying to see if I can maybe go back to Uganda in the next couple of months so I can just like film a quick little video, right? Just for shits and giggles more than anything, but just to also build up my own repertoire and get more comfortable with all the film stuff. And then eventually I want to do a kind of like a short film style or a mini doc on the chimp rangers who take you through the forest to find the chimpanzees. So given my experience now, given I know what the terrain and the environment's like, what it takes to film in those environments, those are at least two stories that I know I can just bang out right away with more confidence that I know what I'm doing, or at least generally speaking. So, we got Katzenell and Boggin in the chat. Says it was on Discovery or National Geographic, I think. I missed something. Swiss said, yeah, Discovery. Grant died from an aneurysm, not from the show. Oh, okay. Damn, there's so much I don't know. How's it going, Katzenell and Baggin? Good to have you here. Swiss says they did put a cannonball through a window, though. Yeah. Every time, I think it was on cable, because I remember thinking, like, it looks so fun to watch. I just never could watch it. Katzenell and Boggin says the year is already gone. Yeah, it's kind of, it is a bit wild. Have you ever watched Mike OK? I have not. Is that also a cable show? Elvis says, I wish to have an adventure with you in Kenya, maybe. Someday, Elvis, someday. I'm supposed to be going to Kenya in November, right? If all goes well, which it should. We'll be there at least for 5 days, but my hope is to extend my time there. It's like, if you're already there, why not spend more time, try to get as much content, see as much as you can, all that kind of stuff. So fingers crossed. The details are still not fully finalized, so I'm just working on it now. But yeah, it would be great. I do run adventures myself, so you can always join. Okay, so we're supposed to be editing and watching this video about color grading obsession. Harry says he's a YouTuber who goes to rural Asia and stuff. He's quite good. Oh, nice. Mike, okay. Oh, wait, no, I think we know of him. Hold on a second. I think someone else had suggested watching a Mike OK video before to me. I'm going to subscribe to him, but I think I saw... Yeah. Man, it was several months ago, but someone had also told me to check out Mike OK. So interesting. Maybe we should watch one of these in a second, because I need to watch more of these things to be inspired and learn, like, how do other YouTubers, especially travel YouTubers, vloggers, what is the way that they create their content? And sometimes it's a lot more basic than you would expect. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's like, instead of overly complicating things, sometimes like it seems like maybe this guy Mike OK does that, where all he's doing is just letting a camera run for an extended period of time as he's just walking around, talking to people, et cetera, et cetera. So instead of always feeling like I have to do these like showy cinematic cuts and soundtracks and whatever else, like maybe it's just best to let, moments breathe. So, okay, let's add this to the list of videos to watch. There's one he did 12 days ago. China's most viral city is hiding a dying job. Well, this sounds a bit more thematic, or like, I don't know. We'll see. All right, first things first, Cullen Kelly. Harry says he went to Asia with no money and just recorded himself. Damn. Well, okay, good on him. It gives me hope that worst case scenario, I burn through all my money, I'll do the same, yeah? All right, let's go.
This one's a pretty good example. I'm seeing a strong contrast ratio, a strong key to fill ratio.
Key to fill ratio.
This dude's face right here. But meanwhile, and this is something that we're going to talk about at multiple points in our discussion today, as we start to approach the shadow and the bottom of the image, nothing feels overly clipped out or overly harsh. It still has life and shape to it. So when I say it's got a filmic curve to it, it's really those two things. And same thing up in the highlights. Like if we look at, these practical sources that are here in the frame, they feel bright. They feel like lights that are in the source, but they...
Practical sources. Listen, as I'm trying my best to be a filmmaker, so I need to like adopt the language of a filmmaker. So... what was it? Stinging the highlights was a new term that I need to add to my repertoire. And then another one is practical source or practical lights. I keep forgetting the name for that. And what is that? So practical lights are any light source that resembles something that should actually exist within the environment. So like lamps or ceiling fixtures, stuff like that, I think is generally. Highlights stay soft, shadows keep life, the toe carries more. What does that mean? The toe carries more as the film gets darker. So this is the writing in the video for compression and roll. Okay.
Don't feel sharp or here in the really those two things. And same thing up in the highlights. Like if we look at, these practical sources that are here in the frame, they feel bright. They feel like lights that are in the source, but they don't feel sharp or like they're stinging our eyeballs. They've got some compression and some roll to them. So that's kind of the signature of a filmic contrast curve that I see as the foundation here in this image. And as this movie goes on and we get into some darker territory, you can see how much is going to end up living in the toe, down in the very bottom end of the image. And that trend is actually...
Oh, okay, so you call it the toe. That's a term people use? Okay. The toe of the frame?
Going to live as this movie goes on and we get into some darker territory, you can see how much is going to end up living in the toe, down in the very bottom end of the image. And that trend is actually going to continue as we get deeper into the movie, and it's going to become more and more important. So even within that contrast curve, which by the way is happening at a system level, something that we're going to see as we start looking at these different images, this isn't just 2,000 shots or 2,500 shots, however many shots are in the movie, that were all graded really good. There's a system in play here. There are some consistent macro level pieces that are giving a consistent identity to the visuals here, regardless of the setting or the lighting or the mood or the moment in the film. There are some things that aren't ever really changing. That's what I call in my world a macro level transform. It's something that stays the same across the entirety of the grade. The key thing there to me would really be this filmic curve that we are seeing here, okay? So we talked about contrast a little bit. We can see how much is going on down in the toe of the image and how much this contrast curve matters. Something else that I'll point out that I really appreciate about this movie is a lot of it lives in darkness, like I said, and we're going to see more and more of that as we go along here. But something that occurs to me as I'm looking like at this frame right here is the mantra that I sometimes invoke, that like it takes a lot of light to do darkness like this. Like this feels so moody and ambient, but there are some big sources in play here that are creating that shape and that feeling and that are giving enough of a healthy experience.
Okay, what was that phrase he said? It takes a lot of light to what?
Mantra that I sometimes invoke, that like it takes a lot of light to do darkness like this. Like this feels so moody and ambient, but there are some big sources in play here that are creating that shape and that feeling and that are giving enough of a healthy exposure so that the image can be shaped and put onto the screen in a pleasing way where it feels what I would sometimes call like movie dark. Like it feels dark, it feels heavy, it feels moody, but we can still see stuff. That's one of the big magic tricks I feel like this movie pulls off really well. That's a key for any movie that wants to live in darkness or play in this kind of more spooky, suspenseful.
Peter asks, do you ever use LUTs on your photography, or it's always RAW and then Lightroom? This could just be my ignorance of like how LUTs is utilized, or how that term is used. I've only heard the term LUTs for video. That was the only time I got introduced to it. So my understanding of this equivalent is like presets for photo. At least that's the terminology in Lightroom. So if that's what you're talking about, so this was like a raw image. And then from this raw image, I'm actually going through my own presets, right? So all of these things on the left are my own, I guess, LUTs equivalently, but these are my presets. And so as part of my workflow, I've done enough photography that I've created enough different custom looks that I use as my starting point. So I use this to kind of give a bit of inspiration of what general direction should I stretch this image. I also usually will do a bit of cropping towards the beginning or towards the end of my workflow. Oftentimes I've been doing it towards the beginning. So then I'll go through my presets. Sometimes I combine some of my presets until I get something that feels quite perfect for what I'm shooting. And then for the final steps, I take it through Dehancer. So Dehancer is a more recent addition to how I edit my photos and videos. They had reached out to me end of last year from the video grading, the color grading side of things for video. But then they also work for photos. So I've been playing around with the photos side of things in the past month or so, and it's been fantastic. I cannot rave about it enough. So you'll see it as I'm editing this, the entire process. But yeah, that's generally speaking how I do it. So presets from my side here, or AKA LUTs, perhaps, if we're using the same language. Then I'll customize from the presets if I need to. If it looks good, it's good. Otherwise, I'll do all the custom masking and adjustments here, and then I put it through Dehancer, and then maybe I'll bring it back, do some extra stuff if needed. Otherwise, we're good to go. We Gucci. I hope I answered your question, but yeah.
Horror type of space. Well, let's talk about color for a second here, because there's something really interesting happening with color. We've already looked at a number of shots with skin tone here, but this is a great one to pause on right here. So check this out. We are in a warm environment. We've got these warm practicals living over here. We've got this warm
practicals. Okay, one thing I'm struggling with this particular photo is right now this doesn't look bad in terms of the colors, and I'll play with the lighting just a bit. But then part of me is wondering if this is better in black and white. Just like with gorillas in general, it's always a little bit tough to figure out because they're not the most aesthetically pleasing when it comes to the like trying to capture their black fur. Alongside like the greeneries and stuff like that. So part of me is like, because there's a pretty tight cropping, you don't get a lot of the background here. I can see a world where if I go full on kind of like black and whitish, that the shot can look pretty decent depending on how I take it forward. Option 2 is I can do similar to what you see here, not so crazy, but make the red of the eyes, let's say, or the orangey colors stand out, but then mute the other colors. That's like option 2. And then option 3 is just, well, option 3 is keep the colors as is. So I kind of keep this green and a bit of the orange from the eyes. I don't know yet, so stay tuned as I try to figure this out.
Like straight up, probably originally red, or if not red, like a very ruddy orange neon light that's living here in the background. But I want to put a meter on my skin tones for a second here, because we can learn so much about the intent and the strategy in a grade from looking at skin tones. By the way, we're really not talking about Resolve hands-on grading or technique. We will be doing that in a second installment on this movie because I think it merits 2 videos for full discussion. I'm just using Resolve to kind of lens and look at these images and get a better understanding of what we're seeing within them. What I want to point out right now is what's happening in the scopes on this patch of her evenly lit skin on her forehead here. So you see the skin tone line that's living right here in my vector scope. This is not a hard and fast rule. It's not like a rule that all skin tone must hit this skin tone line at all times. But generally speaking, what you will find is that for well-lit, well-exposed, balanced footage, skin tone just happens to land here, kind of regardless of any of the local variables. That's why it's here. It's a good guide point. If we look at not only the skin tone here, but if you were to go through and take similar samples of skin tone throughout the movie, you're going to see skin tones landing consistently off to the left of this line. What does that mean? Why is that significant? Well, what that tells me is that everything is being drifted off into a kind of yellowy green world. It really reminds me of David Fincher's movies, which is funny because I found some comments from the filmmakers talking about the influence specifically of the David Fincher movie Seven. But there's definitely a sort of dangerous yellowy green cast to this movie that makes this image feel really different. But if you really try to like zero in on her skin and look at the way it's landing right now, it doesn't feel like healthy, normal skin. It feels a little bit greeny, a little bit yellow. And like I said, this is a trend that we can actually see throughout the movie. It's not even just skin, it's just throughout everything. If we sort of observe the trend in the vector scope, almost everything is living to the left. If you imagine this skin tone line extending all the way down through the bottom quadrant of the vector scope, most of the images in the movie live to the left of that point because that's our kind of yellow-green cast that we're getting for the movie. So that's another key thing that I'm seeing in the color identity of this movie. Now, something else I want to point out is even though we have a yellow-green color cast, and something else I want to point out, even though we've got some nicely crafted color palette and color separation, like look at the nice kind of blue light that's falling on them in this shot. Or if we look at, where was my frame of her leaning into the car window? Like check this out. There's some nice color separation, like a classic cool warm split, key side to fill side happening in this shot, but they're not overplaying the hand in the color grade. This is something that you can find like 10 YouTube tutorials on right now where you find a shot with someone who's lit with a warmer key light and a cooler fill light, where we're really gonna like max out that color separation and really make a meal out of it. That's not what's being done here. The color grade is really not stepping on and like trying to punch up the color separation and the palette that is being created in camera. It's more trying to control and confine it. And again, it's kind of all living within.
Okay, I think I do want to mute the greens a bit as I slowly edit through this. I think that's where I'm leaning towards. Peter says presets. Exactly. Thanks. You answered. Hells yeah. And if you are ever interested in presets, let's see if this works. Boom. If you'd like to financially support me in various ways, while also hopefully supporting yourself or benefiting yourself, I do sell my presets on my website. So feel free to check it out. And you can use YobelPrize to get 10% off from the coffee shop. From !coffee, is that right? One of those things, whatever works, you know? And then also, if you want to use Dehancer as part of your editing template or your workflow, you can also use YobelPrize to get 10% off of that as well. There you go. Promote myself. There it is. Oops.
In this yellowy green world. So color palette wise, we've got a couple things going on. We've got this overall green cast happening, this yellowy green drifting kind of left of the skin tone line thing. It's affecting skin tones. It's affecting basically everything that we can observe in the movie. Even if we go back to like the neons in this shot that we were looking at a moment ago, or like perfect example, the exit sign up here. Exit signs are not orange typically. Exit signs are red, right? So what clue can we pick up from this? We are living off to the left on a system level. This is designed into the intent of the movie. It's not just
the macro level, or what did he say? Macro something.
Something that was done on one shot by accident or because they thought it looked cool. It's something that's happening with all of the shots in the movie. So that exit sign is a good kind of clue right there. But we've got this overall green-yellow cast, and then like I said, we have some nice painting with colors. We've got some nice color separation. Like again, if you look at the cool accents over here and the warmer accents over here and the different sort of elements in the frame, there is color separation that is designed into the photography, but the colorist is showing some restraint and showing some real intent by not just hammering on those things and being like, oh, let's make a meal out of that and really stretch out those colors and kind of take it to a 10. The strategy is clearly different here. So those are some of the things that are standing out to me in terms of the color here that speak to a system level design and speak to a strategy, not just a thing that was done for a scene or for a shot. It's really the visual identity that they help to cultivate in the color grade. And that if you think about it, really helps to convey the sense of unease that this movie carries. Like when you really start to zero in on these skin tones and feel the impact of where her skin tone is living, it feels uneasy, it feels unhealthy, it feels unsafe compared to if she was perfectly riding on that skin tone line. So those are some of the things that I see on the color side that if I were looking at this movie and saying like, hey, I love this movie, I love the way it looks, I love the way it makes me feel, I want to borrow some ideas that really worked for this movie and impart them into a grade that I'm working on. We've just talked through some of the key things that I would kind of bite into and say, hey, that's useful, that's cool, that's designed, that's something that we might be able to borrow. We talked about contrast, we talked about color. Now I want to talk about a third element that I also find really interesting, which is texture. So check this out. Texture varies in this movie a lot. Like I've got some great examples right here. You can see in this shot, we've got some film grain in line. Now, we're looking at this on YouTube. I'm looking at shots that were downloaded from ShotDeck that are not uncompressed. So grain is a little bit hard to directly observe and say, this is definitely the amount of grain and sort of the feel of the grain that I would see if I were to go and watch this in a movie theater. But we can get a general idea, and this is a good example. Like there's definitely some grain in this image. But there are other moments in the movie, I would say most of the movie, where there's a sort of bloom or a gauziness to this movie that's really interesting, especially paired with the greeny cast that we were talking about before. Like look at this image. Same thing, we're living off to the left of this skin tone line. And again, if we do a little sample here, and I like looking at foreheads just because they tend to be very evenly lit, uniform areas of skin that we can observe. Same thing, it's off to the left of that skin tone line. And the sort of 1-2 punch of like, okay, we've got this skin tone that is clearly being designed to reproduce unhealthy and in this sort of like sickly, dangerous, greeny yellow world. But then we've got this almost like old Hollywood feeling of this like gauzy, bloomy texture, especially on leading ladies, maybe not the right word for our female character in this movie, but on our leading lady in this movie, she's got this very old Hollywood treatment in terms of texture. That tension right there is something that really grabbed me looking at this movie. Like, wow, that's just a weird cocktail of feeling and a visual identity that those two are giving me when they're stacked up on top of each other. So this is another key thing that I see here. And what's interesting is...
So then Peter, just FYI, so I've got Dehancer here. So this is a plugin into Lightroom and a number of the other softwares. So then I'll use Dehancer as kind of like okay, once I've figured out the corrections and I've done a bit of my own color grading within Lightroom, I'll bring it into Dehancer where there's a bunch of different film looks that it already has. So I'll kind of look through them, and they have a bunch of other tools that allow your photo to kind of take on a bit more of that film quality. So that could be a bit of like adding some noise and grain into your shot, or the halation and that bloomy effect, or just other types of compressions that you can do to the shot, which I personally have been thoroughly enjoying. So yeah, every one of my photos that I've been editing from Uganda has gone through Dehancer. It's been really fun.
I don't have any inside information about the way this film was shot or about the way that it was graded. I know a little bit about the camera that it was shot on and the lenses that it was shot on, but I don't know whether this effect that I'm talking about with you right now, I actually don't know if this was accomplished with filtration in front of the lens or if it was done on the grade. But when we talk about this video in a hands-on, or talk about this movie rather in a hands-on context in our next video, we're gonna take a look at how we can really credibly achieve this aesthetic in the color grade, because it's something we can definitely do, even if it's not the way the images were captured. And this to me is another like really cool strategy that I don't recall seeing in a movie or like other project anytime recently. It's this 1-2 punch of like a very intentionally kind of sickly, greeny color cast married with this like very gauzy like beauty technique that is especially prominent to me. Like you can see it throughout the movie, but again, compare like this to this. Like this feels a little more straight up. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that there's no filtration on the lens here and there's no sort of blooming or diffusion happening in the color grading stack here, versus here, 100% something's going on here. Like maybe that's just a lens. I really don't think so. I think there's a filter in front of that lens, or there's something being done in the color grade to impart that glowy, gauzy, kind of beauty work aesthetic that we're seeing here. Okay, now I want to talk about something else that we discussed a little bit at the beginning of this discussion, but we really need to dive deeper into. I want to look at some of the last shots here in my timeline. Take a look at these. These are interesting. These are also like YouTube torture tests. Like, you are not going to see every little bit of tonal variation in life that...
Yo, that movie, again, great movie. Never going to watch this movie ever again in my life, just because why put myself through that? But that one of those scenes, yeah, where the eye is like shining in the dark. Oof, so creepy, so cool. But yeah,
I see when I go and look at a movie like this in a movie theater. But you're going to get the idea. These are dark images, right? Very intentionally designed, very dark images. And what I want to call out here is a couple of things. First of all, this is very, very meticulously designed in camera. This level of light is one where, because everything is living way down in the bottom of the image, a third of a stop on a light, or moving a light a fraction closer, or panning it a fraction left or right, really makes or breaks the image. So this represents tons of intent and expertise on the part of the filmmakers, and I want to give that credit where it's due. But it also represents really, really good color grading to bring that delicate film negative, in this case digital negative, to life on the screen. Nothing is easier, I can tell you from experience, nothing is easier than taking a really well captured negative like this, and again, I'm using negative to describe any raw image, whether it's digital or film. Nothing is easier than taking a delicate negative like this and messing it up in the color grade. It's just really easy.
So is that another term?
This little
negative, because he was saying he uses the term negative to represent anything that's raw. So is that another key term they use? So that, okay, you first start with the negative and then you blah, blah, blah. So even this photo, instead of saying like working with the raw image, you would say working from the negative, blah, blah, blah. Perhaps. Okay, so what was it? Stinging in the highlights, negatives. Oh, shoot, I already forgot the other key lesson. The toe. He said something about the toe of the frame or something. But yeah, I still don't actually know how that's used.
Area where everything is living down in the toe. We have to create separation, but we still have to make it feel like movie dark, like I talked about. It is not easy stuff, and so high five to the filmmakers and to the colorist for realizing this image. Now, here's what's interesting to me if we look at both of these. These are technically breaking the rules of good color grading. I'm going to challenge you, or at least give you a thought experiment. If I were to put out a tutorial tomorrow using these two images that we just looked at here, and start them from a log state and grade them into this exact state, what do you think would happen in my comments section? I get a lot of comments saying, hey, that's too dark. And the thing is, those comments would not be wrong or right. That would just be a point of view that I'm definitely gonna get and hear from more than one person. So let me ask it to you this way. Do you think these filmmakers, when they were making this movie, got that point of view from one or more stakeholders in the process? Yep. Someone told them, that's too dark, you gotta brighten it up. What did they do? They said, thanks, no thanks, I'm gonna do it my way. So the main thing I want to call out here is there's multiple things at work. There's craft in camera, there's craft in the color grade, but there's also a commitment to an idea that I see here that's really hard to lean into. If this is your intent, you're still going to hear people pushing back and trying to get you to go another direction, which again is neither wrong nor right. But if you are either the filmmaker or you are another stakeholder in the process, this is where the intent and the commitment to the intent matters just as much as the idea. Because if you have a good idea, but then you move off of it as soon as someone tells you that's too dark, then you end up living somewhere in between two worlds. So this to me represents really, really exceptional craft in terms of the filmmaking, in terms of the color grade, and in terms of the commitment to the idea.
Well, speaking of which, I would argue a lot of my photos recently have been perhaps too dark, definitely underexposed, but I've also just been enjoying it. So even this shot, I'm looking at it, it's like, man, it is pretty dark, you know? But if I full screen this in like a pitch black mode, I think I would actually still enjoy how dark it is. So yeah, anyways, I understand.
To the look that they were trying to achieve. I just love the way these images look, especially this one with this like gorgeous catchlight, eye light that she's got in her eyes.
Catchlight.
And the way everything around that is just at the very edge of visibility. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, I encourage you to go into a dark room so that you can see it the way it was really designed when the movie was being mastered and graded. So you can see it the way it would look more like in a movie theater. Because if you're watching this outside, like on a park bench, then you're not going to know what I'm talking about. You're going to be going, Cullen, what are you saying? This just is a black hole to me. It looks completely stupid. So give yourself the chance to see it as it was intended by looking at it in a slightly darker environment. But that's the thing that really stands out to me specifically, if we loop back around to the contrast part of the conversation, is the way things are designed and shaped and cared for down in the shadows.
Designed and shaped. I think that's it. Yeah, because like even when I'm editing this photo here, I feel like I'm editing this photo with the assumption that at some point I want to see this on a more like a pitch black framing, you know, like where it's not too bright. So that way you can see a bit more of the details and stuff. So anyways, I think I resonate with that. Katzenellen Boggin says, congrats on the 10K. Thank you very much. Yes, we've officially hit 10K subs over on YouTube. So yeah, it's just you know, nothing changes. We just move on. All we can do is keep moving forward. But yeah, next up is, well, I think I would celebrate. I celebrate all the time, to be fair, but I think when we hit 15K, that's gonna feel nice too, you know. It's a nice little even number. And then 20K, it's probably gonna go, yeah, it's probably gonna be in 5K increments at this point. But the 10K, it's a big one for me. We've officially hit that five digits world. So yeah, gives me some good motivation to keep doing this as well. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. What should I do with this? Should I increase the saturation on this? Maybe. It doesn't do much. Just playing around with the lighting just a bit, just to see if there's some creative perspective here that I can figure out. I think, do we do this? It's like a little bit of a greenish tint to it. I don't know. Let's see. Let's reset it. Maybe just I don't know. I feel like you have to either commit to it or not, but I think this is fine. Cool. All right. We're done with this photo. Now we have a bunch of other ones similar to this that we want to finish.
And the commitment to that particular look that's represented in the fact that we are seeing this image that way at all. So hope that's a helpful breakdown of those three key areas. Those, by the way,
yes,
are the
it
same
is,
three
Master
areas that I always try to look
Cullen.
at when I'm breaking down a reference and looking at what we can borrow and lift for our own use in some other project, and specifically that last piece of how much detail and commitment is represented in the way that these shadows are shaped. If you like what we've done so far and you want to see how I would actually apply these things hands-on in Resolve, if I had a project where we wanted to borrow one or more.
Shout out to Cullen Kelly. He is a true master at what he does. So, Katzenellen Boggin says, I'm still waiting on Nikon to release something new. I'm losing patience. Yeah, you know what? Okay, here's what I'll say to that, because I mean, I always agree too, but I also preach patience all the time. One thing I will say, I'm curious to know how much of this current, all the crises, is that a word? Crises? How much of all the wars and everything that's happening, all the turmoil, I imagine it is having some level of direct impact. I know in my region, for sure, so in the Middle East and African region, there's been a lot of chaos, obviously. And so, you know, even when I chat with the Nikon Middle East African team out here, I know it's impacted them quite a bit. Right? Like a lot of projects that you have to put on hold or move things around and things like that. And so, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I wonder if certain things like that has impacted Nikon, not just Nikon, but I'm just curious at a macro level, what are all the different ways that things have either slowed down or things are being put on pause or even like kind of canceled due to the uncertainties of the world. It is what it is, you know, what can you do? But yeah, anyways, that's my only thought of like, you know, I'm curious in a different scenario, would they have already announced something by now? I know they announced what, the 120 to 300 lens. They did release the 70 to 200 Mark II lens. I haven't tested that yet. I wonder if they'll do some like cinema related something. And then, yeah, I think maybe you're also asking, or I'm asking for like a firmware update for the ZR would be nice. So, but yeah, all in due time, you know, all you can do is ask for patience, really. All right, what's this next video? The story of a garden. Collection of daily in Fujifilm GFX Eterna 55 open gate 4x3. The art of the tripod. Okay, let's watch this. The art of the tripod. Because I mentioned this on an earlier stream where I think one of the things that I need to learn, or I need to start doing more of on my travels, is shooting with a tripod, like filming with a tripod. Because I think in my mind, I always think of like, I'm always on the go. I just film everything handheld. And it's nice. It's been fun. And the only times I do tripod is if like I'm trying to talk to the camera or stuff like that. But the more of these videos that I've been watching, the more I realize I've been kind of not necessarily stunting my development with filmmaking. But in many respects, I'm not utilizing a key technique that seems to be in a lot of things that I watch that feels like an art form. So Katzenella Bunga says, I need pre-capture on my Z9. Ooh, yes, that'd be nice. Well, they do have pre-release, but in JPEG. I wonder if you mean like in the RAW format. I feel like I've heard this soundtrack in a different video recently. Okay, actually, I am fascinated by the soundtrack because, like, if it's either I heard this from somewhere like Music Bed, maybe. Does he say what he uses? Yeah, Music Bed. Okay. Because I think I've bookmarked this song as well for me to use on like a future video. So okay, great minds think alike. That's what I'm saying. So far, I'm liking what he's showing here, or whoever this YouTuber is. And it's, yeah, I was like, damn, I really have been missing out. I really need to do these types of stuff. So.
Merci.
Merci. Casanella Morgan says, everyone uses MusicBed. How much is it? Ooh, well, if you would like to use MusicBed as well, I should have my, it should work. You can try it for 14 days and get 3 free licenses using my link there. So feel free to check it out. I don't actually remember what the cost is, if I'm being honest with you. But what I will say is definitely I've been enjoying MusicBed. I think one of the best features about it is that they actually use, and I feel weird saying real, but they use like real artists in that they're using artists that you will find on Spotify or, you know, like typical music streaming platforms, as opposed to, you know, sometimes when I've been trying to create content for YouTube or things like that where I use copyright-free music, the problem you run into with some of these sound libraries is that the soundtracks sound and feel like stock music. Like, yeah, you just don't feel like this is actually something normal people are listening to on the radio or on their headphones, things like that. So sometimes you feel limited in terms of the artistic direction you can take with something you create, because you feel like you're just using stuff that was made to be generic or like a stock feel. So that I have been really enjoying the fact that MusicBed went in that direction. I think another thing they've been stressing quite a bit is that there's no AI involved with the soundtracks, right? So you're like getting real artists. So in that sense, it is real, but you're getting like real artists who are actually impactful. And like, you know, so that's been a cool feature of it for sure. There's a few things I wish they could improve upon, specifically if they can get to a point where all of the soundtracks, I can get the stems of their tracks. That would be really great. Some of them they do, but if I have the ability to just take the percussion or, you know, like whatever, the melody from this thing or that, it's like a hit or miss sometimes in terms of what's accessible, but that would be like a huge win for me. For this particular photo, just taking a quick pause, I feel like the shot itself I want to do something a bit more interesting with the perspective. So as I'm looking at my thumbnail here, I'm feeling like a shot like this feels a bit more entertaining for me. It's like a bit of a crop. It's a bit tighter. But the cool thing is with this shot, when I click on the magnifying glass, this is at 100%. So technically I have the ability to crop in. Even this amount of crop is decent. Like I'm not losing any resolution from it. So, and when I look at the thumbnail, it kind of looks interesting because the gorilla's head looks oversized. It just looks like a balloon shape almost with this current framing. So it's a bit comical, but it's also a big ass silverback. So yeah, I think I want to go with this because the previous shot we've already kind of done a bit more wide angle, showcase more of the silverback. This one I want to do punched in, and then we can play more with the lights and shadows that we've got here. So we got a little bit, obviously we got the shadows in the top right, then just curving around the top left towards the bottom middle. So we'll see what we can do with this. Yeah, we got the B-roll set over here as well, saying good afternoon, bud. Good afternoon to you. It is now evening for me. So it's cool that we can say hi to each other from across the world. How crazy is that? Katzenellen Boggin says, I first heard about it from Ill Concept. Oh, I had an Ill Concept video lined up. I don't know if I lost it. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because MusicBed, you know, they're pretty damn good. There's a lot of other YouTubers that I watched who are very quote unquote cinematic that also uses MusicBed. So I was like, oh damn. They're a proper company. You know, it's like proper good deal stuff. So yeah, if you'd like to try it out, definitely click on my link. At least you get 14 days for free. It also comes with sound effects as well. And again, the beauty is, regardless if you decide not to use the trial, you have 3 free licenses, right? So you can download 3 of the songs and you can use it on any of your projects and you're good to go. So I think that's a cool win-win. B-roll, thanks for being here though, and hope you're having a good day. We are celebrating today being the day that I'm officially 10K subs, but that could drop any second now. So I'm not in the clearing just yet, but you know, this is our first time hitting that 10K mark on YouTube. So yeah, good little motivation for me to keep on doing what I'm doing, I guess, but do it better, but faster too, hopefully. All right, so this is definitely something I want to bookmark for myself, because at some point I wouldn't mind making a video like this. Inspo cinematic moments. where it's just like no dialogue, just good ass soundtrack, and then a particular technique with the camera. So in this case, like he said, it's the art of the tripod, where it's just putting what do you call it? Just like a still, yeah, just like a locked in shot. I don't know. I'm trying to do that now with some other concepts, like yeah. The point is, I think this would be something I should consider as I travel more, as I film more. Think of these types of future YouTube videos I should be creating.
Christopher Nolan had just spent.
How Obsession built Christopher Nolan.
Really know
On him. Oh yeah, let's finish this Hoyt van Hoytema video since it's here.
who you are as a cinematographer until the moment that you're certainly on
Whether.
set with a whole crew and everybody looks at you and sees you as the cinematographer, and you have to start calling the shots. So you have to sort of be confident in your role and do that. And I think for me doing that film the way I did it and the way I felt doing it, it would have been so hard for me to have to do the same, like climbing up from the bottom of the ladder slowly upwards. So in a way, I sometimes feel this was for me an opportunity to just go there and pretend I'm a cinematographer and see how it works out. And it kind of worked out, you know. But it's very funny because somehow the big budget movies that I've worked with, they didn't feel necessarily like specifically big budget movie, or it's not about it, you know. In a way, it's the same thing. The budgets, they grow around it, and sort of the ambitions grow bigger on the outskirts, on the outsides of it. But filmmaking and the discussions that you have is as pure and as small as I would have them in Europe, or I would have them on smaller projects. So in a way, I have the feeling that I sort of got to do very big budgets, but I never really had to sort of commit to a big budget film just for the sake of that it's a big budget. It started. It all started from the core of just working with a good filmmaker or with a good director.
You know, even your agent would also.
Okay, I definitely think I'm gonna go black and white for this one. Yeah, because we got some nice play on lighting here, and there's one particular preset that I didn't expect to look as good as I thought it did on the small thumbnail. I think it's this one, Kong of the Jungle. Let me just kind of play through some. Because now I'm mixing some presets. Let's see how much it changes it. Yeah, so it was this one. There's something about this I like. There's like a kind of an artistic angle to it. It's a bit more abstract. But I think I prefer something like this where you have a bit of a softer feel to the shot, like a bit of soft lighting as well. So I think this will still be my base that I want to work from. And then I'm going to see about lifting and kind of adding a bit of that fade effect across everything. All right, I think this could be an interesting one. Number 5, advice from Hoyt van Hoytema. Be flexible and focus on building relationships with directors. Okay.
Who you really want to work with, and the people that you very often love or that make the most beautiful films, you kind of feel unneeded or unwanted. You know, it's like, you know, what can you add to that thing? So maybe, you know, you should choose to work with the people that you don't sort of respect to death, but you know, just think are good filmmakers, and together you can maybe do something more interesting.
What I have a little bit learned of working with so many different guys, I have the feeling that you know, the process for every director I work with is totally different, yet, you know, they all sort of end up at the same result, and there is not a right and a wrong way, you know, and the way you deal with these different people as a cinematographer is very much also what defines your relationship with a director. I always feel that I'm very flexible. I feel the lesser I sort of pretend how things are supposed to be done, and the more I sort of can understand or respect the idea that, you know, people have very different processes. the easier things get, or the better things get.
It's so much about chemistry as well, In the beginning, you're very stiff and you're really feeling each other out and you're sort of tiptoeing around each other. But then on the next project, you can do more, you dare to do more, and you can use things that you have been learning from each other. And I very much enjoy that. I very much enjoy sort of the next picture in that perspective. You're scared to death in the beginning. You want to fulfill certain expectations. You want to deliver what had been delivered before, and at the same time, you want to bring something of yourself to the table.
All right. What's next?
It's funny what Mr.
Filmmaking is not a race.
Has to solve this.
I tried Christopher Nolan's first film strategy. He built a vintage store in a city obsessed with new. Hey, this is about Dubai. Let's watch this one. Shot in Al Quoz. Al Quoz is a really artsy area in Dubai. It's probably like the only area that I would say can be categorized as super hipster. But it's like fancy hipster, which is kind of funny. This short documentary follows Analog the Room, a vintage and film store built on the belief that something should never change. All right, let's check this out.
I've tried to shoot on digital for I would say a couple of years. It was an interesting experience. I mean, I still do digital if the project requires, or there's something specifically that I need to shoot commercially. But the technique that is still closer to me and represent my taste in things, it's film. I mean, when you're shooting film, it's not only that the output or like the result is closer to human eye. On film you're shooting on grains, like physical grains, silver grains, while on digital you're shooting on digital pixel. So by default, for a human eye, looking at physical things is easier, so that's why you can, let's say, create more or like a quicker connection with any film photo compared to a digital photo. I would say the first challenge was to educate, especially the younger generation, about what we do and why do we do it, and why they would be interested in trying it out. So I feel like the education curve is where we spend so much time and we put a lot of effort to get to a stage where people can actually come to a space, not necessarily to only buy, but to learn about things and have one place that connect them with photography. I mean, it's like also the stigma of how film photography is something that old people only do. I think this has been a challenge. I think the tone of voice that we start using is what attracted the younger crowd to experience this kind of photography. And when we talk generally about this region, I would say the second-hand culture is not as strong as well when we compare it to US and Europe and even in Asia. Again, the education part of how we love to call them pre-loved items are accepted in all industries, either clothing or cameras or any even music related stuff. I feel like it was not as easy for people to accept this culture in here as well, and it has been one of the challenges we had initially, but look at everybody now is doing vintage and thrift shops are usually the best. That's where you find the best stuff, in my opinion. I mean, it's more, of course, environment friendly and all, and
Yo, I like all the sound effects from this video so far. I feel like I need to find out where he gets all the sound effects so I can use it in my videos.
We don't actually need to make new clothes when we have this much of clothes already. I think late 2020, that's when I met with Topi and we started working with Digger. Yeah, we saw that the mentality basically aligned perfectly for both crowds, and that's when we started to do things together. If I can know anything about this piece or who owned it before, is even more interesting. Yeah. I mean, I love football jerseys, for example, and when I see a football jersey with another person's name on it, it was owned by this person. For me, this is very interesting, Yeah, I mean, me too. Yes, that's where you find the best stuff. I have a couple of mine. This is the first one here for Muhammad Ali, and yes, of Muhammad Ali. It's shot by Neil Leifer. He's an American-Italian old photographer. I'm talking about this particular one that he shot from the top of the arena while Muhammad Ali was winning. And you can actually see him on the picture. The technique behind the picture itself is very interesting because he extended a cable for, I don't know, for like 40, 50 meters. My favorite format to shoot right now is, I would say, medium format, and like I like the ratio of a rectangle, like 6x7, and this is one of my favorite cameras ever to shoot. Is a Bronica GS1, and it shoots 6x7 format, so every frame is 6x7, and it has a very interesting character. The lenses have very interesting character, and I really like to shoot black and white on this. I mean, yeah, there are things that should never change, in my opinion, and I feel like film photography is one of them. So, film is not dead. It was never dead, and it will never die.
Cool, cool. What is this video? Understanding visual literacy. Oh, let's watch that Mike OK video. Okay, so this is Mike OK. China's most viral city is hiding a dying job. Okay.
China is advancing at an alarming rate. Some of its centuries-old ways of life are becoming extinct. These men have been doing this job since before I was born, but in just 4 years, they're going to be unemployed. Oh, and welcome to the world's largest city.
Welcome to Chongqing, a city you might recognize from the influx of influencers pouring through to capture its best side. But beneath the bright lights, Chongqing has an invisible hero, the Bung Bung Man, named after...
Okay. I think I can say this because I'm Asian, but it just hit me that the name of this city, Chongqing, if you just say it backwards, it becomes Chingchong, and I don't know. That brings back some memories. Well, Chingchong, well, there's that funny, well, it was like initially not funny, I guess, some racist girl in UCLA. She went viral back in the day. Man, I think I was in university or something. And then it got turned, she said this whole line about Ching Chong, Ling Long. And then that got turned into like a bunch of parody songs and everything. But anyways, Ching Chong. No, sorry, not Ching Chong. Chongqing. That is the name of this place.
Is pouring to Chongqing, a city you might recognize from the influx of influencers pouring through to capture its best side. But beneath the bright lights, Chongqing has an invisible hero, the Bung Bung Men. Named after the bamboo pole slung across their shoulders, these porters were once 500,000 strong. Damn. Today, there are less than 2,000 of them, and by 2030, it's estimated that this job will be gone entirely. Before they disappear, I want to meet them. So come with me into the gritty underbelly of Chongqing, side by side with China's last Bung Bung Men.
And we are joined today, once again, by the wonderful Hong Lin, who is still, for some reason, not sick of me. How can you tolerate me this much?
It's a good adventure.
It's a good adventure for us. We've come down to the dock here in Chongqing. You can see behind me Raffles City, the hotel apartment mall complex finished in 2020. And in stark contrast, the gritty wholesale market and dock, which we're going to go and check out. Yesterday we met a man called Mr. Lee, a man who many years ago served in the Chinese army and now makes his money as a Bung Bung Man here on the streets, making about $10 to $20 a day. We're going to see if we can find him. We're going to see if we can find some of his friends and see if...
So is this like he just films everything in this kind of vlogging camera style? I mean, I like this. The simplicity, I like it a lot.
We can hang out for the day. Mr. Lee, 你好。
OK 了吗？现在关键是我们以前啊电话流很多，只接到电话马上就去看东西，但是现在服务少了，所以说很不好接到流。现在有几个船，黑的了，所以坐船，一个船停在哪里？划起来。这里边天了吧？就是里边天，关键是大船上来不到，是啊，划的对不对？就是划的了吧？划的上来了。可能是6码头嘛8码头嘛，可能没弄。
So, Mr. Lee, there seems to be very few ships here. You were saying there isn't a lot of work. How did it look before? What did these streets of Chongqing look like before?
2000年嘛，2000、1999年，一个是你只要有力气，能够挣得到钱，比如说就在发展这个智力。以前呢，像对面那些房子啊，都开始还没建那些高楼，最后才建的。在2000年过后，慢慢的都建了很多的房子，那些大桥啊，也说那阵都没建，那阵只有2座大桥，后来呀，都发展了很多桥。
So we were up at the wholesale market before. I thought that might be the best place to find some of these guys. But Mr. Lee's actually taken us right down to the dock to where the cruises come in. And lo and behold. Oh, 你好. 你好. How are you, sir? 你好. 你好. 没有，谢谢。可以。好。Okay, 谢谢. And one left for me. Look at that, fantastic. 对。 So essentially, you're doing the same thing that you do when you get off of a tourist bus. Hi, how are you? How you doing? You good? You come off the cruise?
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to find my Tripadale people.
Tripadale people, not sure, mate. When you ask these customers and you take to the city, how much do you charge?
10块钱一个箱子。一个箱子。10 yuan for one luggage.
10 yuan per piece, so 10.
那都是24哦，一边一个。
一边一个20是10元一个。高不了轿子上去，老师。我蛮美女，来，这个大花轿，还溜啊，好吧？好的。
好，上面的很，你看嘛。2倍，很多人上来，但是包包挑不赢。因为说看过船叔叔。水出了啊，大船上来不到。做轿子都是把它抬上去，人坐到那个地方把它抬上去，我们把它抬上去，抬到那上面去。
Do you actually find people that are willing to allow you to carry them up the stairs?
有时间很多，有时间，从下面都坐起上来的也有。好，我们下我们那些帮帮下去到船上，就是我们在上面接。
就是人多的时候。
The wrong man.
你坐一下，谢谢。
They're trying to get me to sit on the chair. I'm too heavy. I'm too big. I'm 100 kg. I'm 100 kilogram.
200斤哦。
200斤没事，300斤我们抬得起。我们抬得起。
Two people. How old are you, sir?
他们好多岁？
好多岁啊？我们50多岁。
And you think you can carry me?
试一下吧。
没关系。
Yeah.
没关系。
I'll pay you 100 yuan now. You have to teach me. I want you to teach me how to carry it, and we'll carry Honglin just for a couple of minutes.
他说他自己要100块钱，他想我让我挑轿子，他说让我来说。
But we'll just do it around here. But you have to teach me. I want to do it.
然后他们挑，
来嘛，
试一下。
来嘛，坐到看嘛。
Okay.
来嘛，看嘛， 来，我们问题开走。
You have to show me how.
好，行。要不然走啊！还我们这些手上去，我们什么都踢上去，都踢上去。
Okay. So the Bung Bung men don't just make money from carrying luggage, they also make money from carrying literally people. I'm not going to have a go in the bloody sea because I'm not going to allow a 70-year-old man to carry me. I'll have a go.
是吧？你哪头？哪边？听到人来了。
好了吗？好，
哎，好，你把账到就完。来，我账到，我账到。哎，帅了，你走。你把，我把一账到，去，好。
I'm pretty tall.
I feel quite nervous.
The thing is, these guys, as you can see, there isn't a single young man doing this job. It's all men 50, 60, sometimes even 70 years old. Okay, you can take us to the top and we'll pay you. I mean, these men are 50, 60, 70 years old, and they've been doing this for absolute decades. Does this work affect your body? Have you ever been injured? How many trips do you make in a day like this? What's the most trips you've done in one day like this? How has it changed from 40 years ago to today? Why is there less work today than there was 40 years ago?
年轻人没有那个搞这个灯了，现在的年轻人不干那种事了，就是我们50几的人干，现在的30几、40岁不干这种人。人家不多人干的，好吧，就不说，现在不说了嘛，他就直接那么整，再都5年没有那个船马上来斩了，那个船长没有存点去了，基本上就没有存都不来了，没有了，基本上没存点去了。
Anyone want to ride? 100 yuan? 100 yuan up the stairs? 100 yuan up the stairs, guys? 100 yuan up the stairs? You guys want to ride on the Bung Bung Man? These jobs won't exist in 5 years, so support them while you can. You're supporting a dying job, it's excellent. Oh no. So it's now just chaos coming off the boat as the Bung Bung Man try to get as much business as they can off of these guys. Looks like these ladies are struggling. I'm actually surprised that these guys have lasted as long as they have because, oh no. It's a job that won't exist in a few years. You should get a ride. Day. Yeah, meow. Support the dying jobs. These dying jobs won't exist in 5 years. Support them, please. I'm trying to help these guys get some work. These jobs won't exist in 5 years. You should support them. Yeah. So are you guys going to be staying here for a while, or are you going to be moving around the city? Where can we find you later on? Okay, you're the professional chair guy. Okay, we'll come and see you later on and we'll help you more. Bye-bye. 你好。抽不抽烟？我会抽烟。
Yo, hello, says BT. Hope you're well. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for being here. Today is a wonderful day. We hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, as last I checked, until I shouldn't check again, just in case someone unsubs for me. We're still at precarious territory. Like, we're just like one sub away from dropping back down, okay? Well, good to see you. Harry says he does a pretty good job of showing the culture, I think. Not that I have ever been there. His other videos show how people live in fully rural areas. Yeah, I think... Listen, he said he's what, 100 kgs? Seems like a big man. When you've got certain, if you are a certain type of person, he's utilizing his strengths the right way, because like not anyone can travel like he is, going to like, rural places or like random places and feel, like safe enough or whatever. So this is like, very heartwarming. I like his content, right? It's like, it's so raw. He's not like, again, he's not using some fancy camera. I'm assuming he's just using one of these like action camera, gimbal cameras or whatever. And yeah, it feels very wholesome. And he's also, like you say, he's like shining a light on a part of a culture that feels very unknown. So I'm liking this so far. It's definitely giving me some thoughts of like, how should I be capturing different cultural moments and things when I travel more I don't have to like necessarily feel like I have to bring several cameras and different techniques needed to tell a story.
抽不抽的烟呐？真的哈，给我拿到。
Hello， 谢谢你，谢谢。
英国人是好人，我们中国人坏人多得不得了。
Okay。
嘿嘿，
谢谢。
你可不可以？
I don't know why we're on our knees。
可不可以喊我喊叔叔？
叔叔
，91岁，我住的那个地方墙壁把我房地产开发把我腰到南岸去了，南平晓不晓得？
I don't know why this man decided to get on his knees. So look, I'm in the incredibly lucky position to be able to travel around the world, tell stories like Mr. Lee's stories, getting bitten by mosquitoes, and get paid for it. And there's a certain moral dilemma that comes with that. It's like I am profiting off of documenting the lives of people that have a lot less than me. So I've decided that I'm going to start giving back, and each month I'll be giving a portion of my brand deal money to charities. And this month it's the Chongqing Charity Foundation. They've got a bunch of different really cool projects that they work across the city. So that's what we'll be doing. And this week it's going to be $2,000. This month is $2,000. So I'm getting bitten by mosquitoes. $2,000, and none of it would be possible without sponsors like Ground News. Ground News is a website and app that pulls in...
Everybody and their mothers are getting sponsored by Ground News. Looks like I got to add that to the list of sponsors that maybe I can reach out to at some point. Once we hit 20K, okay? 10K, actually no, now that we hit 10K, maybe some sponsors are a bit more achievable, perhaps.
Thousands of news stories from around the world every day, organizing them by story and showing you the political bias, reliability, and ownership of every source, allowing you to see every angle in one place. For example, this week, Donald Trump announced America would take over the Strait of Hormuz, calling it the guardian angel of the strait, and said the US should be paid for it. The New York Post reported it as Trump protecting the world's most important oil route. The New Republic called it a threat to blockade an international waterway. Same announcement, two very different stories. Ground News lets you compare those perspectives side by side so you can decide what's real and what's spin. With over 10,000 five-star reviews, Ground News is trusted by people who don't want to miss important stories just because they're inconvenient or underreported. Don't get stuck in one narrative. Go to groundnews.com/Mike or use the QR code on screen to get 40% off their unlimited access Vantage plan. See the bigger picture with Ground News. So after this job is finished, how will you find your next job? What will you do in a few years when this work dies out? What will you do?
回老家退休了，不是吗？回老家了。你们老家是哪里？我们老家四川。广安的。广安。哎。不远离水了。对的。
This is a job that you've done for 40 years here in the city. How do you feel about having to leave?
这个是寒时间嘛，你在屋里一天都要出挖呀、抬呀、做嘛，真的是短时间了嘛。在屋头里挖、挑、抬，一天都要办。
Do you see yourself as like different from regular Chongqing residents? How do you think these people see you, like these tourists?
游客认为他们家是下年生，看起来确实是抵挡。也问了要走别个走的，哎，要点钱那个。
他们都是一样钱，挺贵的。
哇，你们每天爬那么多梯子，好久哦。
这是老给了嘛。
So in case you didn't know, the city of Chongqing is literally built into a mountain. So doing a job that requires you to...
I am kind of curious why. Okay, so I can only attribute it, or like, okay, I think about Uganda. when I've done the chimpanzee treks, gorilla treks, one of the cool things that they do is you can hire porters who will help you with the treks. And then I believe the porters are just community, usually they're fairly young. So my assumption was that they're like kind of like, you know, college student aged teens or whatever, who just to make some money on the side, they'll do this porter job. I'm curious why that can't relate to these, what do they call them? Bong mens? Like, if you made some program where, you know, it's like, hey, just make a few bucks, you can do this. But then again, maybe, yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of sad watching this, thinking, sad, but not really. It's just times change. And it sounds like this is a dying concept. But then again, those stairs aren't going anywhere, right? So you might always need someone to carry you up there. But anyways, Raid Shadow Legends of IRL YouTubers. Wait, oh, is that the Raid Shadow Legends? I've seen this all the time as well. So this is another sponsorship for IRL YouTubers. Gotcha. BD says, nice, congrats on hitting 10K. Thank you very much. Let's next milestone I'm gonna think about is 15K. Wish me luck. BD says, I am well. Also, I've been stuck on this photo for some time, and that's not a bad thing. I've been kind of going heavy with the potential photo edits, and I really like where I'm going with it so far. There's like a number of different directions I feel I can take this photo, and each one feels very artistic or like very artsy. So I'm taking my time with this one. BD says, I'm well, just finished meetings and whatnot. Also, my fiance wanted me to see some projects she was working on, so I looked at those. What kind of projects does she work on? What does she do?
Walk up and down flights and flights of stairs, up and down hills. At their age, it's impressive, man.
Yep.
So Mr. Lee just got a call saying that he's got a job up at the wholesale market, so we're heading back there with him. Mr. Lee lost his job. Oh no. When you get a call, is it like you need to race to the job, you need to get there as quick as you can, otherwise someone takes it?
Oh, it's like taxi, I guess like taxi drivers.
他马上就走的嘛，他不可能放弃，来紧等你哦。所以说答应得到啊，我们都要去；答应不到就是我来不到，你给我喊人，好，他们都给我喊人推起走了。一般他来进货进去都10来分钟、几分钟，他可以等下，你不可能等1个小时、2个小时。所以说不能等太晚了。
是是。It seems like all of the Bung Bung men are elderly men, 50, 60, 70 years old. Why are there no young people doing the job?
以前做了很多年的都是，他认为那个找得到钱，有时间1个月，有生意好的1个月找1万8块钱，几千块钱都是有得行的。像我们生意好的话，也找个7、8千找过的，2、3千都是那是最便宜的了。一般都是好几千嘛。有些当了几10年的搬运。 当慢慢当搬运，有些还是买了几套房子的，也有房子，也有车子。
BD says she's a director. She does a lot of music videos and brand campaigns. Yo, that's pretty epic. Damn. Look at you guys doing real ass work. I need to take a lesson in that. Listen, I'm still trying to make my way through, trying to figure out like what's the best way to kind of improve my filmmaking craft. So I was mentioning one of the things I hope to do. Hopefully I'll be able to travel to Uganda again in the next month or so. I have a couple film project ideas that I'd kind of pitched and I'm ready to start filming, more like on the conservation side of things. So hopefully that goes somewhere. If it's not in the next few months, I mean, it's something I'm going to do at some point anyways. So I figured though I just want to start front loading as many more film, kind of short film projects that I can build out a portfolio. But yeah, that sounds cool, man.
所以说，那个职业都是凭气力找钱，凭个人的能力。
You know, in the 90s there were 500,000 people doing this job, and now there are less than 2,000. Why is that?
就是啊，现在因为啥子啊？科学发达了， 网络也比较那个了，有些接货的都在手机上，他人都不来了，好，都是喊摊子上跟他发过去，都不需要好多搬运了。有些生意撇了，老板个人盘起去，啊，一些搬运呢都没得生意了，所以说有些都改行了，有些退休了，有些没做了，有些生病了，有些没得生意就去搞年轻点的搞建筑啊、打散工啊，哪里去都去托熟人呐、找合路做。所以慢慢就是越来越少，以前到处拖一拖的做起的慢慢，搬运多得很，到处需要人搬。所以说现在呀，有些啥电动车，它也可能，以前几个人扛的，现在他一个人都可以拉起跑了。所以现在你要那些快递也收，都是个人去收，所以说这些慢慢逐渐比较失业了，所以都越来越少了。
谢谢。
所以不好找合伙。
So many of these bung men, these delivery guys, they come from rural areas. So they would have moved here in the 90s, maybe even the 80s, looking for work, looking for a better life, to send money home to their families. But not all of them have the sticks, not all of them have the bung sticks.
Wait, how do you not use a stick? You're piggybacking people? Yo.
他床上用品都是扛为主，啊，
我是2年了，我们宿舍交起大起的走了。
How old are you, Mr. Lee?
明年是70了。
And do people worry about your health? Do people worry about your age doing this job?
就是有些他就说，像你们重生了，他说你扛不起；像你们重生了，他说你扛不起，走上坡路。
Have you ever had any accidents doing this?
他都怕你噻，他不放心，他怕你在黑头车。以前也没那么说，我们做啥子都很安全。以前是摔到过的，但是没得啥子影响。
Can you show me your stick? Can you tell me the history about your stick?
那个拿着我们来，都有人专门有人卖，好，或者是以前别个不做了的这个，可以拿起来用，买几块钱一个，几块钱一根，买起来可以买2个锁锁，哈，就可以担东西。我们那帮忙20几年了，你看都挑亮了，都挑易了，看嘛原来。 那帮原来很长，都磨完，都磨完了，出。
So Mr. Lee's stick is 20 years old. It is probably older than many of the people watching this video, which is just insane. Do you think there's some kind?
挑亮了。
Probably older than many of the people watching this video, which is just insane. Do you think there's some kind of sentimental value behind this stick? Do you see it as like a companion, or is it just a stick?
当然有感情咯，有感情，因为经常要用它，就把它拿得起，看它放到哪里，它折没折啊，就把它拿得路。万一别个拿跑了啊，我都要用到嘛。所以说，有感情，他给我们挣了钱，配合我，找了猎物。
So we just got a call from Mr. Lee. We were taking a little rest because we woke up at silly o'clock in the morning. But we got a call from Mr. Lee saying he's got a job and we can join him. But we don't want to lose it. We don't want him to lose the job. So we're running.
1 minute.
1 minute.
He'll pick us up.
Just goes to show how dire the situation has got for some of these porters, some of these carrymen, these bung man. Ni hao. How are you, sir? You okay? That the jobs are so sparse. Mr. Lee has had 2 calls today. He missed the first one. This is the second one. And knowing that he's got a job feels like the gold rush. We've got to make it across town before we lose it.
He also got some orders.
Wait, can you imagine Mr. Lee loses the job because the guest doesn't want to be filmed? And it's like, So he actually makes him lose the job. I'm not laughing, but yeah, talk about.
In this afternoon.
Nice. I'll take your stick. Tell him I've got his stick on me. Are you going to leave your bang stick here, or we can take it? Okay. Go on, Mr. Lee.
Jesus.
Ooh, be careful, brother. Bloody hell. Do you think this has affected your body over time?
It was like old man strength.
I'm just going to try and put it on my back. How much do you think that weighs, Mr. Lee?
Jesus.
Less than 50 kilograms.
Less than 50, yeah.
That's like my...
So how much money did you make for that job? 10 yuan for that journey, that's about $1.50. $1.50? For about 5 or 6 minutes of walking from about halfway up that building.
Jesus.
Xie. Is this where you come every day?
Okay, I think I'm done with this photo. I kind of like this quite a bit. It's a bit artsy. It's more abstract than usual, but it's growing on me. This might be a photo I come back to several times to just keep like working on it, see what changes to make. Even now, I'm thinking maybe I need to make the bottom section a bit brighter. Because if you look at the original, it's a bit more obvious that this is his hand. It's like he's got his fist near his head there. And the version I did, it's a little bit darker, so maybe I will see about lifting that up just slightly. I think. Let's see if I can just do it from here, otherwise I don't want to recreate everything. I'll do 2 versions just in case. Yeah, at least as long as the knuckles are a bit obvious, because then it adds a little bit of lighting to it, so your eyes get drawn to it, I guess, but I'm gonna have to play with it just a bit more. Peter says, we should really appreciate what we have. Watching this really makes me ashamed for all my complaints. I don't think you need to... I think feeling ashamed for that is not necessary. It's like all you can do is live your own life. It's like when you hear people, I mean, I say this sometimes too, right? But like that, you know, there's so many people in the world who have like real problems, right? Like people who are dying or, you know, stuck in a terrible situation, abusive situations, war, famine, you name it, right? So it's like when you see that, and then if you were to be told then like you have no reason to complain, like you should be grateful for everything. It's like, yeah, you should be grateful, but it doesn't like necessarily discount the stress and the emotions that you're feeling. You're just one man, you're one person living your life. It's like you can't always compare your struggles to the rest of the world. It's just not possible. And it kind of takes away from the individual human experience, right? So it's like, yeah, I think don't take it too hard. It's always a good reminder though, for sure. It helps to kind of level set for me. It doesn't become a way to live my life. I don't say like, oh, I should be ashamed or I need to, you know, feel some level of guilt beyond if something I did directly is causing some suffering. It's just, but it becomes a nice way for me every time I'm struggling. If I'm going through some adversities, if I'm going through something stressful, it's a good way to kind of reset things for me mentally to be like, okay, shit could be a lot worse. And then that's a bit reassuring. It's a bit selfish in that sense, but like it helps me to feel much better about my situation and get through whatever I'm dealing with. But yeah, man, like, holy crap. Well, yeah, like I said, when I travel, it is enlightening at the very least. You see how much people get by with how little they've got. But then also how happy they can be compared to a lot of us living in like city life. Man, we were just talking about this like a few days ago on stream. But yeah, it's like there's a real community aspect to a lot of the places you visit, and like whether you call it third world countries or developing countries, it almost feels like more genuine emotions on the day-to-day that they experience, and more camaraderie and community. And that's something definitely that gets lost on, you know, as you industrialize, as you become more individualistic. Even me, man, it's like if I wasn't doing these live streams, and it's like at least I get to talk to you guys, but without the live streaming, and even that's not, you know, it's not a good substitute. It's like, you know, I don't know my neighbors. I just work from home. I catch up with my friends. Thankfully, I've got friends, and we, you know, meet up and stuff. But like generally speaking, on the day-to-day, there's no community aspect to it. So it's definitely a lost art, or it's something that gets lost over time.
So it's absolutely pissing it down with rain now. Does the weather affect your work? Do you still work when it's raining like this? Cheers, cheers, cheers. Ganbei, ganbei. How has Chongqing changed in the last 30, 40 years?
以前没得人很高的楼，一般都是7、8层楼，
桥梁多，楼房高，各方面人的宿舍也好，以前差不多，重庆那儿乱弄那儿真的。
China has advanced so quickly. These skyscrapers have just gone crazy. How do you feel about that change, the change of this city that you knew so well?
漂亮了，人的居住环境好了。以前的居住环境差的，像那个热天，那个风山，天气都很个热，晚上睡觉了。现在没得风山的更热，在河边的些凉，现在12点了，1点钟才回家睡觉。那是租房子嘛，那是漂亮。
住那些撇房子，搭那些房板屋，房板屋不是跟房板住在一起，房板屋住在房板屋，都是房板，
高高坡哎，
搭点凉板，
几十个人在搞
啊，你说是挨着都是铺，都是住那种生活，那这好艰苦。
以前你们房板都是住在一起，
是住在一起啊，
现在都是分开。
现在条件好了，分开住嘛。
条件好了，就说
有些买了房子，
有些有钱了。啊，有些买房子、租房子都租好点的了，但是还是有房板屋啊，少了。
干杯，干杯！
因为啊，只有点经济来源，要节约，还有我打我军的光有传统，不能浪费，要点滴节约起起。比如说送饭来，买点米也不贵，买点小菜也不很贵。好，抽烟那些啊，因为天天抽，虽然是一天几块钱不多，但是你过下来就多，一年下来更多，所以说都要从点滴节约起。就选择那个职业，就是比较单纯有自由，哪个喊办了马上给钱。像有些你像搞其他的话，有时候还拿不到钱呐，还把你套在那儿啦，所以说有那些风险。我们是单了就马上给钱，所以那个头自由。比如说搞累了，我就想休息不做了，好。高兴呢，就去多做点，反正只要身体吃得消，一天找个5、6百、30倍的要得，反正都有信心去搞。
他作业特效的。
So, I used to work in TV and film, on film sets. We would have to carry huge pieces of furniture, set furniture, dressing for the set. So it's kind of like before my YouTube days. We get to do some actual hard work for once.
Hard but honest work, but holy crap, does that look intense. Okay, so I think this is probably currently the final stage of this photo. Like I said, I'll probably, hold on. I think there was one thing I had done here, didn't I? Copy. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, so we decided to go with the super cropped in version of this shot. I struggled quite a bit, but in terms of like trying to figure out the right cropping for it, but I kind of like this. It feels like a very, I don't know how to say. I like, the shot itself was already going to be a struggle because we had a bit of mixed lighting, right? So where's the original shot? I guess it would be this one, yeah? Okay, let me copy this. Oh, hold on. Let's see if I can fix something real quick. This is going to be a little bit annoying, but I need to get the rotation just right. All right, so this one I need to zoom in a bit. A bit more. No, no. Shoot. Okay, so I need to crop it just a bit more, yeah? From here, maybe? No. Dang it. I'm hitting all these buttons, not no. Oh, there we go. That's what I was supposed to do. Okay. Tell me I got it on one attempt. Nope. I think I need to lift it now. This is where you're seeing my like level of maybe OCD kick in. Unfortunately, I don't know how to fight against my OCD. Oh shoot, I'm going the wrong way. Come on. Okay, this is good enough. But then I wanted to see a kind of like a before and after. So let's say this one, let's copy this. Reset. Okay, so this was our original shot. Then we did a cropping, right? So we went from original shot, then cropped in. So in my opinion, I think this framing here, it's not really doing much. You know what I mean? Peter says, take care all. Need to drop off for today. Talk to you soon. Thank you very much, Peter, for viewing and being a part of the stream. I appreciate it. And thanks for being on my past streams as well. It's good to know that you enjoy it enough to come back. See you next time. So this original shot that I took, it's like I'm shooting a gorilla. What lens did I use? I'm assuming I was holding either the 85 or the 400. But the point is, I don't have the full gorilla in frame. And I also don't necessarily have a good frame to begin with. So for me, I don't think, for example, the leaves and the background greenery adds much to the story. Unfortunately, we've got this harsh light on the part of the gorilla's face. We've got this strange mixed lighting situation as it's kind of hidden by a little bit of the foliage or from the treetop. But it unfortunately means that you don't get like a clean portrait. So in many regards, I would look at this photo and be like, okay, it's not worth editing. You know, it's not going to end up becoming one of my hero images. But you know what? As I get more into this in general, I have always learned that you'd be surprised. A lot of photos that you think are throwaways end up becoming the ones that are your favorites. It just depends on if you don't give up on it or if you just play around with it. So I think this is going to be one of those examples where I think what we did initially is just start working with the cropping first. And then once I got to this level of cropping, it just became like okay, now the story is more about the lights itself. So now this like abnormal lighting becomes part of like why this photo can look good if we do a good job with like, whatever. And so then I was like, okay, let's just make this a bit more on the black and white kind of sphere. I changed my mind halfway through. There was like one of my presets that brought in some of the color, but it also had a bit of a faded feel to it. So ultimately landed on this for what I should go with within Lightroom. And then we put it through Dehancer just to kind of, darken certain parts and make it a bit more filmic, a bit more. And so now we got like this very interesting play on light. And of course you get partially parts of the gorilla's face showing up and then parts of it are obscured. So yeah, it feels a bit more mysterious, I guess. Point is, I think this is like 1,000 times better than the original starting point. So yeah, I'm very happy with it. So we went with this and now we got that. Boom, boom, boom. I am a happy camper. Question is, can we repeat that for other photos? I think that's probably the last one I'll do from this series, because then these photos are a little too similar and we've already got 2 that we focused on. Question is, should I do one in landscape? Nah. All right, so now we get to move on to like the next gorilla here. So I know there's a few shots here where the gorilla's looking straight at us, so we'll play that while I'm watching this.
I mean, I can't imagine doing this 12 hours a day, every day, for 40 years, in a city that's literally built on a mountain.
加油加油
It's not so much the weight, it's the technique of carrying it. Just kept slipping and then my shoulder was cramping.
I wonder why the audio is muffled like that. There must be something covering it, yeah?
Mr. Lee. 谢谢. Great. Oh, the bang bang, bang bang. Next time, I'll do the bang bang next time. Mr. Lee has got one delivery left, one package left. Just going around the city, dropping off packages, getting your 10, 20 yuan. The bang bang men here in Chongqing are like a cultural pillar. And they're kind of invisible in a way. So now Mr. Lee takes this and then gives it back to the employer, and then they pay him cash.
Yes.
Okay.
因为那个一个评比噻，它上面说的货一个语句噻。
It's a receipt, a proof.
Oh, nice. Guys, pissing it down with rain. Hong Lin and I are absolutely knackered. We've had the biggest 3 or 4 days ever. Mr. Lee has invited us to his home to drink with him and eat with him, where I'm hoping we can learn a little bit more about him and who he is. Hey! Yeah, Mr. Lee.
没关系啊，没关系，没带伞。
你带伞，我给你买200过来嘛。
不用啊，没事，走了我都是。
有没有穿雨的嘛？
没关系。
I'm fine. The rain is okay. We're taking the subway, right?
买那个，我们镇上买那个，楼底下都是 水泥路，下面都是卖车票的。
Yo, I'm getting so hungry just watching this video now.
Wow. Not a bad view for 500 yuan a month.
不好意思，不好意思，看嘛，到处摆起不像样，因为出来打工啊，都是他们都倒了啊，就到处放起都是，条件这个样子。
你们那个风景还不错。
你好。
哎，你好。
How are you?
哎，好好。走，哎，
走嘛，看嘛。
你看嘛，我们那个房子。
OK。
是不是给嘛？
啊哈哈，谢谢。
哪里那种我们，等于我有闯到我那个事儿，只能宽杆儿，你不多8家铺，追不到最上面。好，那边一个卧室，反正就是上了班回来都是吃点饭，一洗了就睡觉，所以说就搞起不像样。
有好多人在一个房间住。
有些10几个，像那么11天的话，就住10多个人，10来个人，你好多人嘛。
哎，那个要好多钱一个床位是不？不是分房间。
哎，他比如说你住一个月的，像那种就是以前那种来哈，1块8钱一晚上，一个月30块钱就可以。
那是哪一年的事儿了
？2000几年嘛，好后头，因为我们老婆来了，跟没住到棒棒屋都方便样，然后我们都个人去洗房子，洗房子那种呢300、200一杆儿，反正单杆儿，那么只要住得下就行了。
Do you have any of your old military medals or photos that you could show us?
因为那个都发了嘛，以前骑步、正步、跑步，他的步伐好多，1分钟好多步，那些都要清楚。比如说这个走全精神。
哎，有啥子嘛
？Well, it's so nice to be in the home of someone. It doesn't happen often in China to be invited to someone's home to eat with them.
不晓得那个酒好不好，还是
茅台呀，是不是假的
？Smells about 55% baiju. Ooh, smells like paint. Smells like paint stripper.
没得啥子吃的没？没得啥子吃的，看嘛，吃点小菜。
喝下。Good. It tastes like paint stripper too. It's nice and strong, but it's very good.
那好久了，我都没吃。我是等到贵宾来这吃。
What does your family think about your work, Mr. Lee?
别没得技术嘛，你下你找到钱都是可以了，只要赚到钱，发挥个人的特长是嘛？
没得技术的嘛，没得技术，只有做那个别人做啥子嘛？没有技术嘛。
I wonder if the translation's bad, or did his wife really just say? What did she say? He doesn't have other special skills, but he's a good fit for this job. Damn. Different culture.
没有技术嘛？没有技术，只有脾气的。
That wine, the baiju, is good.
年纪菜，酸肉，烧倒酒。
喝嘛，慢慢喝嘛，没关系。你反正你不开车，那我把你们送到。
经常我们也是在那些慢慢喝。
慢慢喝嘛。
Thank you. That's enough. Thank you.
慢慢喝。没得我那里还有。
Okay.
好多大一缸。
慢慢去吃。
随便吃啊。
随便吃。
要是买去就是要吃啊。
慢慢吃。
管它不好吃，叫你就吃一下。
好吃啊。
朋友。
朋友。
好。
谢谢。
谢谢。
Paint stripper.
这都习惯了，他就是那种习惯了他都没得啥子，都不同了。
但是哪个打了电话做了啥，都想给把它做好，跟他没完成好。到时候比如说哈，一道喊你也不来，2道喊不来，我喊别个了，他说你每次都不来，他说你为了找钱，老板儿信任你，他打了电话都要跟他完成。所以说有时间还是赶紧赶来赶去，有时间饭都没吃，饭端起来。马上就跟他送货，把口袋里把货送了转来，才来吃饭。那不辛苦啊，不辛苦哪里来赚点钱嘛？ 你本身都是下力。
Considering that you smoke cigarettes and you drink alcohol and you're 70 years old, I'm extremely impressed by it.
那不算，我们有时还很大包的扛起走，很大包啊，扛起的人。
特别那个全是冬天扛那个绒盘。
How do other people in Chongqing and the general public, how do they look at the Bang Bang men? Have you ever been treated badly?
都有那种情况，
也有。
有些老板哈，
有那种，
他不会吓你人，有时的你喊他奖你10块钱，他说哎呀你们辛苦了，我给你20、30。好，我们有时间，好，我们都当兵的噻。他说哎呀，真是能干得行。
对。
给你100块钱。
对。
他说不补了。他说，他说，就是大家互相体谅。他看到我们下里那么辛苦找点钱，是很累。他明明说的到那个地方哈，路线比较近，好给你20块钱，结果啊，走很远都走不拢，你不晓得到什么地方噻。好以致你喊他加点钱的话，他不得加你。他说讲好了的，你还要我加钱呢？他说。
Right, that's another drink.
我们沿途啥子工作都是一样的，只要凭个人就双手挣钱。
哎，对。
个人问心无愧都是。
我们当兵的人的耿直，说哪们就啥们，就说吃点亏，我愿意吃亏，都不像那些专门或者有个小心眼儿，是不是嘛？我们很正直，所以说都是相辅相成的，
Okay, this photo as well, I'm struggling a little bit. One, I was struggling with the composition. There's like this one ugly stick that was like pointing right above below the head. So I just want to crop it out for now. And then in terms of like the presets I've got, there's a number of them that kind of look decent. So the question is more just like, what style am I trying to go towards here? I don't know. I think I definitely want, you know, even something like this is interesting. It's a very muted tone. It's very dark. You lose a bit of what's going on. So you lose a bit of context with this level of darkness. The one from before is a little bit better. Hold on, can I mix them? Let's see. So what if I choose this? I think that's not bad. Yeah, I think I'll mix a few of these. Okay. You know, a shot like this one, I think I just want to move on. Or it's not a bad shot, but I think it looks okay for now here. So we'll go ahead and put it through Dehancer and see what else we get. Nani, I took 2 years of Mandarin in university. I forgot everything except for 谢谢, beer, pijo, and then nani. I forget, what does that mean? Nani. It's like no or no worries. I forget.
你到了全世界哪个国家，不能啥都有那种情况，有遇到好的，遇到不好的，对不对嘛？
好，
谢谢。
感觉得到。You want to try this?
Is this some more beiju?
那个也是别酒。
I'll have a little bit more. I'll have a little bit more because I'm already quite drunk.
感谢你们的关怀和支持理解呀。
应该的。
没啥子。
真的是应该的。
我那家伙午饭煮起的哦。
Ooh. Yo, the colors look clean on this preset here. Or the edits I did last time, it's making it look nice. So again, proof in the pudding. I wasn't, like, I thought the photo looked decent. But then when I put it through Dehancer, I'm feeling like, ooh, something spicy now. Something extra. Which way do we want to go? Okay, I'm gonna work off of this one here.
No, Mail, 谢谢. I'm good. I'm good. Honestly, I'm full. What is this?
You forget 1 meal.
A little bit of smoked pork sausage to
One other cool thing about traveling, again, it's a nice privilege if you're able to, but man, a lot of countries you visit, they feed the everlasting shit out of you. It's just like there's so many, it's like such a communal thing for sure, or like a lot of cultural things, I guess. A lot of cultures share that in common, where it's like if you're invited to the house, they feed you until you're basically puking.
Oh, I've dropped it on the floor. I've dropped it on the bloody floor. Shish. I am good with chopsticks, I promise. If you could go back and start again, would you do it all again the same way?
一批个人选择哪样，只要挣到钱去接触、去了解，哈，能不能感受，认为做得到，只要找到钱，都是为了找钱嘛，是嘛？没钱哪们生活，哪们开支啊？
Thank you for inviting us into your home, and thank you for allowing us to tell your story. Thank you, Mr. Lee. 谢谢。
你见过没？要你见过没？
对，谢谢。Please take this. Buy some gifts for your grandchild, okay? Please. Mail. Take buy some gifts for your grandchildren.
不要了，我们都是朋友，我还是
We are friends. It's okay with.
Wait, mayo. Did that mean no need? Mayo. Or is that nani? Shit. Man, my Chinese is so bad. I'm surprised I graduated university.
Friends,
man.
but this is just. I want you to buy some gifts for your grandchildren. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
好慢慢的说，甚至给你一定的耍用。好那个，俺叫啥子名字不是？你这一定的耍用。
麦克。
要得。人家要来耍哈。
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you so much. We'll be back again. We'll be back again. Okay, see you. 谢谢。Bye. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you so much.
好，慢慢走。
谢谢。 Goodbye.
Bye.
The Bung Bung Men are seen as the lowest of society, yet for centuries they've carried Chongqing on their shoulders, load by load up these hills to make it the city it is today. Now they're being pushed out of the very city they helped build, because the world, as always, moves forward. But one day, Chongqing will look back, and the Bung Bung Men are who it will miss.
Very cool. Very inspo. Definitely need to think about this kind of style for my own travels. Michael K and Honglin Lee. Oh, is that the other person? Wait, let's subscribe. I wonder if this guy Mike, I'm assuming this guy probably gets so many people reaching out to him being like, oh, let's collab and stuff. But I wonder if he needs a cameraman. Although he's definitely mastered the solo kind of gimbal style. That's like, I feel like that's probably part of his brand at this point. Okay, what else we got? All right, let's watch this one. How Obsession built Christopher Nolan something.
Christopher Nolan had just spent a long, anxious year trying to secure distribution. He had been turned down by every distributor in town with the same variation of, this is great, we love it, we really want to work with you, but this is not for us. This film was personal to him. Memento was born into the world on the back of Obsession. Failure to find expression would have been almost inconceivable to Christopher Nolan. Nolan made the movie because he had to. What happens when you make a film is you burrow into it. You dig in so deep, so you kind of can't see it anymore. You're fully immersed in it, he said. The only thing you can do is trust your initial instincts. You just have to say, this is what I'm making. This is what I'm doing. It's going to work. Just trust it. Memento would go on to earn 2 Oscar nominations, nearly 2 years to the day after that disastrous screening for distributors. Nolan's ascent since that movie has been near vertical. In the space of 2 decades, Christopher Nolan has gone from eking out micro-budgeted 3-minute shorts to making billion-dollar blockbusters. Nolan's films have earned over $5 billion at the box office. To the studios, he is as close to a sure thing as a director gets, one of the few filmmakers who can walk into a studio with an original script idea and walk out with the $200 million necessary to make it. Like Spielberg and George Lucas before him, he has become a franchise unto himself. And unusual for a director working at this level, he has either written or had a hand in writing all 11 of his movies to date, granting him entry into a very exclusive club of directors. Among his collaborators, he is known for his punctuality, discipline, and secrecy. Of the more than 600 people who worked on Dunkirk, only 20 were allowed to read the script. Copies of the script, which were kept on set, were watermarked with the actors' names so that any missing copies could be traced back to their negligent owners. Nolan came, this is hilarious, when he's trying to recruit people to be in his movie. They're like, great, send over the script, I'll read it. Well, he's coming with the script. So it says Nolan came to the actor's house with a copy of the script. Nolan insisted on staying with him, drinking tea in the actor's living room until he had finished the script and then took it away with him. He refuses to use a second unit, preferring to shoot every frame himself. Minds don't wander on a Chris Nolan set, said Matthew McConaughey. Nolan is known by his crews for shooting fast, starting at 7 a.m. and finishing at 7 p.m. with a single break for lunch. He has the kind of passionate following one associates with a cult director. Critics have received death threats when they give his films a bad review.
Damn.
He has the mystique of a magician who takes his applause below the stage, having just disappeared through it. People will say to me, there are people online who are obsessed with Inception or obsessed with Memento. They're asking me to comment on that, as if I thought it was weird or something. And I'm like, well, I was obsessed with it for years, genuinely obsessed with it. So it doesn't strike me as weird. Every film I do, I have to believe that I'm making the best film that's ever been made. Films are really hard to make. They are all consuming. So it had never occurred to me that there are people doing it who weren't trying to make the best film that ever was. Why would you do this otherwise? Even if it's not going to be the best film that's ever been made, you have to believe that it could be. You just pour yourself into it. And when it affects someone that way, that is a huge thrill for me. It is a huge thrill. I feel like I've managed to wrap them up in it the way I try to wrap myself up in it. That is an excerpt from the book that I'm going to talk to you about today, which is The Nolan Variations, The Movies, Mysteries, and Marvels of Christopher Nolan, and it was written by Tom Schoen. One of my favorite books I've ever read. I think the first time I read it was about 3 years ago. And with Christopher Nolan's new movie coming back out, I've just been thinking about, especially his idea that he wants to live in an analog world. So there's like a handful of ideas. There's probably like 6 ideas that we'll repeat over and over again, because we're going to move through the book in chronological order, which also covers his filmography in chronological order. But I'd say he has a handful of ideas that he just repeats over and over again. And one of them that's been on my mind is his desire to live in this analog world. So we're going to go right into that. That's something that will reappear throughout our conversation today. And it goes into the fact that Nolan does not have an email account or a smartphone. He has like a flip phone. So the basis of this book was a series of interviews done over many years with Christopher Nolan and Tom Schoen. And so if Tom wants to get in touch with Chris, he's got to go through his assistant. And eventually Chris will say, okay, I'll meet you here in this physical location at this time in this day. And so he talks about over and over again about making sure that we're using technology and that technology is not using us, and that he wants to live in an analog world. In fact, it sounds very similar if you listen to a few weeks ago when I did the episode on the founder of Honda. He talked about that. He's like, we are building technology to serve man, not the other way around. Make sure that you are using the machines and the machines are not using you, is what the Honda founder says. So then he just goes into the fact that, hey, I would say the main idea of the book is the fact that obsession is the engine for his entire career. And he's going to give a lot of his life energy into his craft, into his work. He considers himself a craftsman. And if I'm going to be giving over my limited life energy, the only finite resource I have, I will run out of time one day, then what we're making has to be great. It has to be the best. And I love what he said. He's like, listen, I'm going to this with every movie, assuming that I'm going to make the best movie there ever was. Now, he knows that's not going to be the outcome, but he acts as if that is going to be the outcome. I love that. So he says, I find filming very difficult. I find it totally engaging. But it's an arduous process. There's a lot of strain on the family, a lot of strain on my personal relationships. It takes a lot of physical strength. So the movie's got to be great. It's got to be something that I love. And then he talks about the fact that he likes to do the work. We'll get into the even though he's known now, you know, he's made billions and billions of dollars at the box office. He's had this multi-decade partnership with a major movie studio. He likes being involved in all aspects of the movie. And like I said in the very beginning, he either wrote the entire script or had a hand in writing the script of every single one of his movies. And he talks about this. He goes, I'm not really looking for a script to come fully formed and land on my desk. No project that I've ever been involved with has been like that. He doesn't like that. He wants to have complete control. Then he talks about how the fact that he enjoys screenwriting and then how he does it. I enjoy writing screenplays because they are very stripped down, simple documents. And the more stripped down they are, the better they are. So it's interesting. I went back and looked at some of my old highlights for this book. This is a different, I had the hard cover before. Now this is the paperback. But I went in and searched all my highlights for this book. And when I got to that section, I had forgotten one of my personal heroes is this guy named David Ogilvy. He built, you know, one of the most successful advertising agencies of all time. I found him because I was reading through all of Warren Buffett's shareholder letters, and he kept calling this guy David Ogilvy a genius. I'm like, well, Warren Buffett's calling you a genius. I need to go, you know, research this guy. So I started reading about him. So David, one of his bosses before he was a founder of his own company, this idea that's like, you need to just strip things down. You need to get to the essence. This is something that Nolan repeat over and over again. And you'll see, I like that he's starting with the written document because he sees that he's got this really clear thinking and he knows the essence of what he's trying to make. But David Ogilvy's boss taught him the importance of what he called the terse memo. So he would send you a message, David Ogilvy's boss, and it'd have 3 responses, right? So you send him, you know, hey boss, what do you think of this, you know, this thing we're working on? You come back to you in one of 3 ways: yes, no, or speak. And if he says speak, that means come see me, and then we're actually going to talk. It's faster than me writing it out. But I love that. Yes, no, or speak. Then he gets into the fact that he says, I feel more of a craftsman than an artist. Everybody says, you know, if you're a filmmaker, you're an artist, you're making a movie, you're making art. Christopher Nolan says, you know, I'm a craftsman, not an artist. George Lucas has that almost exact same line in his biography that's written by Brian Jane Jones, which I think the book is called George Lucas' Life. You know, he says that I don't make a work of art, I make a movie. I'm not an artist, I'm a craftsman. So you see that Christopher Nolan arrived at the same conclusion that George Lucas does. And then there's just some one-liners that he's got a very unique personality. It's almost like, you know, I've watched every single one of his movies. I get to the end of Tenet. I've watched Inception, you know, I don't know, 6 times. I still don't completely understand it. And I think that Nolan's very comfortable with ambiguity.
I think that's a kind way to put it. Although with this Inception, I felt it was a bit more, I mean, it's complicated, but like it felt like he did a good job of making it feel like there's some continuity to the logic. Yo, Tenet, I swear to Christ. I mean, maybe Tenet is meant to be like an IQ test and I'm failing it miserably. I still don't really know what the hell is going on in that movie. It doesn't matter how much I like watch YouTube videos that break down the science behind it or each scene. It's like, yo, it goes way over my head. A little too much for me. Every other movie I've seen of his, I'm like, hells yeah. It was fun to watch though, I guess.
He thinks that there's much more to the world that meets the eye, that the world is, you know, beyond our comprehension. And so there's just some lines in throughout the book that I just think make you think and kind of give you an insight into this unique individual that we're dealing with. And it says he dreams with his eyes open. Before we get back into this, I want to tell you about the presenting sponsor of this.
All right. Okay, I was working on these 2 photos. This one definitely turned out to be the winner compared to the other one. Hold on. Yeah, this one I think probably mainly just because of the mouth. It adds so much. So just by having the mouth open, which then introduces a bit of that lighting and the teeth and the colors that are inside the mouth, I think this one just ends up having a bit more character to the shot. This one is still nice, and like this one you're actually getting the chimp staring straight at the camera, which is a cool thing. But then we don't get as much of like light bouncing off some other areas. You know, like obviously I could spend some time and re-edit some of this or like, you know, whatever. But honestly, with these 2 shots, I just wanted to kind of speed run it as much as I could. So this is my best attempt at trying to be quote unquote fast with it. But yeah, it's kind of nice. I think this one though, yeah, I struggled a lot with figuring out the cropping for this as well. But I think this is the one. Or it definitely, what do you think? I don't know. Yeah. Better than expected is what I'm trying to say. So let's see. And then this one, same thing. Yeah. I think we're doing some interesting... I'm kind of happy with today's editing session because I'm definitely trying to... I'm trying to take bolder choices with how I edit. So I'm trying to be less boring, I guess. So even with this shot, I think this ended up becoming quite... I don't know. Like, I might come back to this one and re-edit it 1,000 times. But generally speaking, in terms of how it currently looks, the composition of it, and then just like what exactly gets... What exactly is visible, what's hidden. There's something to this as a portrait that I could almost see me blasting this on the wall. Like, I could, if I printed this on the wall, this could be really cool. So, yeah. This one too, I'm happy with. And not bad. All right, let's keep going though. I feel like I'm on a good roll here. How many more? And then we got plenty more to do, but now we get, oh nice, we get to work on the mother and baby gorilla shots now. So all right.
Podcast ramp. I have been...
Yo, holy crap, this is 50 minutes long. Okay, I was not expecting that. I mean, it's not bad, but damn. I wanted something a bit more chill vibes as we... Filmmaking is not a race. Understanding visual literacy. Okay, I think we had that open actually. Let's watch this.
God, I'm bored. You look bored. I am bored.
So how was the clink? Did you get the cookies I sent?
To be literate in some circles is to be an idiot. In the case of visual literacy, the understanding and breaking down of a movie's visual language, it is oftentimes the only way a director or filmmaker can actually fully develop their craft or get better. Visual literacy itself breaks down into two stages, the how phase and the why phase. The how phase is reaching a level of technical understanding when looking at a film that you understand how the cake is being made. You understand how the depth is being created, how the composition is being created, how the lighting sources are being created. You understand the how. The why phase is the eternal struggle that no director in this lifetime or our previous lifetimes has even come close to breaking down. One of my favorite directors, Akira Kurosawa, said that his greatest regret was dying before he could actually begin to understand the why behind the how. And it sounds simple. We are simply asking, okay, you know how to make this composition or camera move, but why here? Why this composition? Why are you creating depth this way? Why this lens? Why are they staged like that? And you can answer all of those questions and still be wrong. Visual literacy is about becoming technically informed enough to make choices and then learning from the choices you make, because your choices are never going to be perfect. They may be right, they may be wrong, but they're never going to be correct. Most great directors, especially Kurosawa, strived for finding the way to be.
Okay, so I'm going to edit at least two of this part of the series where you have the mother and the baby. Now, I mentioned this before, but it was like, oh man, it was such a cool shot, but unfortunately we had this one piece of nature that was like blocking the shot a bit. And you know, I'm usually not too fussed about those things. It's like, yeah, you part of the shot, part of the story is the environment, right? And so to have like a clean image with nothing blocking the subject, it might be nice, but it can also feel a bit sterile in the sense that you've kind of like not necessarily staged, but you just don't get those. It feels weird even to say imperfections, because like this is nature, you know what I mean? So, but this is also me trying to bullshit my way to justify why it's okay to have this piece of cabbage here. Yeah. So anyways, we're going to work on these two. I don't have a good answer in terms of which of these I prefer in terms of framing. it's a very subtle thing, right? You're seeing me tilt just a little bit from left to right. And the question becomes, which one is actually better for this? I was shooting this with the 400mm lens, so I had no room to kind of zoom out, essentially. So based on where I was situated when I took this photo, I could just barely fit the two subjects in frame. I think I remember at the time thinking like, okay, should I tilt the camera slightly down so I can get her hand fully in frame? But it was like honestly one of those things where it's like, if I tilt it down, I run the risk of chopping off her head from the shot. And I would rather maintain the full subject's head as opposed to maintaining the hand. So yeah, anyways, and yeah, just to like make the eye level just a bit more on like that rule of thirds concept. So yeah, that was the decision at the time. So we don't get the full thing, and we also don't have a lot of space to work with. So anyways, we'll see whether it's better to have her and the baby centered or just ever so slightly on the right. I don't know. Let's work on, oh wait, sorry, we're looking at these two. Let's see. Yeah, because I can almost see a version where this is more like, you know, rule of thirds, kind of like this. So she's more off to the left, but there's going to be some cropping. So let's find out. Let's get this going.
Correct. And almost a century and a half in, we haven't even come close, and we likely never will. Visual literacy is about the pursuit of being perfect. It is about the endless process of learning and striving to understand the ultimate unison between image and story.
Oh, what movie was this? Not There Will Be Blood. No Country for Old Men, yeah.
So let's build from the start. Let's start to understand visual literacy from the start. The first ingredient in the cake is the frame. Everything comes from the frame. Lighting, color, etc. are all additive. They are the frosting. A frame can either be a composition or a subject shot. A composition in this sense is a frame with three distinct layers of depth: a foreground, a midground, and a background. What creates that depth, however, and how staging exists within it, is a product of the story, which we'll get to later. Right now, if you're building the frame, you always make sure you have three distinct layers of depth, or a subject shot, which is where the composition is foregoed for a subject. Think a close-up, a medium close-up, anything where the subject seems to be the only isolated variable in the frame. Imagine that your compositions are a meal, and your subject shots are hot sauce. You can't make a meal with just hot sauce, but your meal would also be entirely bland without it. The next part of the frame is the lighting. How do we use the sources at our disposal to highlight the composition or depth that we're creating? Furthermore, how do we do that in tandem with the story, which we'll get to later? Lighting is, and always will be, a function of composition. Composition is what makes things inherently cinematic, not lighting. Composition is the building block. The light is the garnish. Without composition, it is almost impossible to make something look cinematic.
All this talk about food, man.
Especially in a storytelling sense.
This one, I think this preset kind of spoke to me a little bit. So while I probably won't maintain this entirely, like I think the colors maybe clash a little bit, but something about this does feel interesting, so I'll keep a note of it.
Shoot a man in a corner, doesn't really matter how you light it, it's always going to look bad because it's flat, because there's no depth, there's no composition. Composition can exist cinematically without light, but light cannot exist cinematically without composition, especially when it comes to story. However, when the two are combined, That is how the most beautiful imagery in some of your favorite films are created. From a visual language standpoint, lighting is about supporting your composition, about highlighting it. It's about adding another cinematic or storytelling layer on top of the compositional foundation that you've created. If you must rely on your light to create depth, to shape a composition, you have now lost your story because you are now lighting for depth and not for story. But again, we'll get to that later. Think about lighting this way. If I have a shot with 3 layers of depth, I likely need to be doing a couple things with my lighting to support that. I need some sort of fill or absence of fill in my foreground and background to accentuate or shape the depth. I need a key light defining my midground and my subject, and a backlight or rim light specifically to shape the subject a bit more in that composition. But the most important thing is to make it feel like it exists within the composition. Do not draw attention to your light, just support the image. All of these techniques can also go away if they draw too much from the composition, the story, and the naturality of what you're trying to create. Visual literacy is about choices. You learn so you can strip away.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
It's a metaphor.
I know it's a metaphor.
The next part of the cake, now that we've covered how to create and light a frame, is the camera movement. Camera movement is essentially the process of moving from one subject or composition to another subject or composition. You simply go from frame A to frame B. Do I start on my subject and end on a composition? Do I track with my subject to a composition? Think of a camera movement like a math problem. Frame A plus frame B plus frame C equals a complete shot. Crafting camera movement is as simple as applying all the rules we just talked about to the frame you start on, to the frame you end on, and to whatever frames you create in between. Now, deciding those frames and how you move between them is 100% dependent on the story, but now we've at least covered the math behind it. Always think of camera movement as math. The next and final part of the cake is storyboarding. It's essentially how you process all of the technical framing, lighting, and movement requirements into a concrete plan. I'm not talking about taking shots from other movies or having a reference board or having a vibe sheet. Those are frankly kind of useless. I'm talking about sitting down with a pencil and a notebook and hand drawing every single frame. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It could be as crude as 2 stick figures in a long hallway. But it's about having the composition and the image already created so you can understand how it affects the story. It's about making your movement math as easy as possible by simply just drawing a line between the 2 frames you just created. It's about creating the movie and its visual language before you even show up to set. It's about understanding the entirety of your movie, frame by frame, setup by setup, movement by movement, so that you have the freedom to pivot and create if you want to. Most of the time you set up, you frame it exactly how you have it drawn, you shoot it, and you move on. Because the hour you spent designing that shot on a piece of paper is an hour saved on the day. Once you understand composition, it's easy to show up to a location and know where each of the individual frames are or could be. But when it comes to story, that can only be understood visually through staring at a crude stick figure drawing in a dark room, at what you designed. And that's because beforehand, you took the time to create it, to understand it, to figure out what it's achieving, how it's making the audience feel, rather than just pointing to a spot on the day because the composition looks cool. I've seen a lot of cool shots with no narrative resonance. I'm sure you have too. At the end of the day, visual literacy is not about creating cool shots. It's about telling a story. And this is where things get fun. Now we get to talk about each of these basics of visual literacy within the overall context of storytelling. After all, that's what visual literacy is. How do we take what we just talked about, what we just learned, and use it to tell a story? Let's first talk about lenses and framing. Imagine that each shot in your film exists to serve a very specific purpose in your story. Imagine it as a collage. Up close, it may seem like just another shot. But if you zoom out, the collage, the story, becomes visible. It takes shape. However, if all your shots tend to look the same or rely on the same 9-point coverage, zooming out suddenly, there is no collage. There is no story. Because visually, there is no distinction between any of the bits and pieces that are creating it. If it all looks the same, and it all feels the same, then it is not a collage. It's not telling a story. A collage is a collection of different pieces, not one and the same, just like a story. And so how do we create this story? Again, let's get back to lenses and framing. Obviously, in terms of framing, our visual language can be very limited. We are stuck choosing between the subject shot and the composition. There is freedom within the composition, sure, in two ways. A, how things or people are staged in order to visually tell the story. B, how things or people are framed in order to visually tell the story. And these go hand in hand. You start with the blocking. You start with designing the movement of the actors to best tell the story. What is human? What is real? What creates a visual reaction from us as an audience? And then, the most difficult part. You don't simply create a shot with depth in order to capture this blocking, because then you are capturing, not storytelling. The shot you create, the composition, while maintaining those rules of depth and capturing the performance, needs to generate a feeling in the audience or further the story of the characters and script. Simply put, you have to create blocking that tells the story. And then within that, you have to create images that tell the story. And then the question is, how do we want these images to make people feel? What is the texture of the image, the closeness of the image, the feeling of the image, the scene? That's how we decide on our lenses. If I have a scene that I want to feel subliminally claustrophobic, maybe I choose to shoot no wider than a 50mm lens on all of my compositions. Your lens choices are a direct proponent of the story, and it should always be changing. Think about the way in which emotional beats change in a scene. If I change my lenses and compositions to reflect those beats, I'm changing my visual language in order to tell the story. Visual language is all about change. The change between types of language is often just as important as the language itself. What does If we go back to the collage, in a given scene zooming out, your types of framing and your types of lens choices should be able to tell the emotional path of a scene just by looking at it. And zooming out further, your choices in that scene should be different from the choices in the next, and the next scene, and the next scene. Each scene with its own visual language in order to create the final visual language of the film. That's how stories
I'm curious
are
if this
told.
guy...
And that's again why storyboarding...
He speaks with authority, and I am curious, like, if this guy is also a filmmaker. Avery Dorman. I'm curious about where he gets his knowledge from. I like what he's saying.
Actually drawing your shots is so important. And the same applies to camera movement. The state that your camera exists in should always be changing or staying the same from shot to shot, depending on the story you're trying to tell and the emotional beats of your scene. Camera movement is the ultimate way to build and break reality in a film, to build and break...
Okay, quick pause from the video just to kind of break down my thoughts here. I was a bit more precise with trying to like get the subject separated from the background, but I'm kind of liking this so far. So basically I've dropped down the exposure on both the subject and the background. I changed the coloring. So I think before, if you look, it was the gorilla had a bit of a purple color tone to it, which I personally just am not a fan of. I kind of prefer when the lighting or when the colors are slightly more muted on the gorillas. So I've brought down the colors there a bit, but I didn't want it to touch the eyes because that kind of like the amber eyes I think are definitely a key feature that I want to showcase. Otherwise, I think the lighting looks fairly good. Again, we get that annoying patch of grass here, but what can you do? You know, we're gonna accept what nature gave us. Then the question becomes, how dark is too dark? So I think part of the gorilla is slightly too dark, perhaps for now. So if I lift the exposure just a bit. Yeah, okay. So let's say something like this is our starting point. I think it's good enough now for me to put it through Dehancer. Any other changes I want to do here? Here, let me play with this a bit. Yeah, so we can see what it's like if we drop down the lighting a bit on the greens. I don't want to do too much where it feels a bit unnatural, but I want to do whatever I can to kind of reduce the lighting on that shitty piece of leaf thing there. So let's bring that down a bit as well. Blues we're not going to touch. We might reduce the saturation on it later. This I probably won't touch because I think once we put it through Dehancer, it's going to affect that part. I'm going to drop down the saturation just a tad on that. This one we'll leave as is. I'm gonna lift this saturation just a bit, or I'm gonna increase it just so the eyes are a little bit more wet, let's say. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, we're just gonna leave that as. All right, so this is our starting point. I decided not to crop this one because it's not that much of a cropping anyway, so I'd rather just edit from the full thing, and then after we're done with Dehancer, then I'll do cropping as like the final step for this particular shot. There's a lot of effort put into this one, so I almost don't want to work on the second video of the same series. Okay, I think this one looks best in terms of, so we're probably going to keep this in the Kodak Endura glossy paper instead of applying some of the more unnatural color stuff to it. Okay, let's start from the beginning and see what we can end up with.
Expectation. If you watch any PTA movie, he rarely uses the same type of movement in back-to-back scenes. Each scene has its own unique type of movement that's unique to that scene. That's how he creates his collage, his stories. Think about the way in which a camera move can make us feel, and think about the different states of the camera that cause that. Even changing the speed of your moves can have a drastic effect on an audience's feeling when watching a given scene. A slow dolly versus a fast dolly can greatly change an audience's perception of a given line, scene, or emotional beat. The relation of speed from shot to shot is also incredibly impactful. How does a slow move, then a slow move, then a fast move make the audience feel? How about slowly speeding up your moves throughout a scene? How does it help us tell the story? The same goes for the type of movement. A dolly feels markedly different from a Steadicam, or handheld, or zooming, or sticks, or a crane. The type of movement you choose in a given moment and how it relates to the movement choices before and after are some of the most powerful ways you can choose to tell your story. Camera movement and movement in general are some of the most powerful ways to affect the emotional perception of an audience. I'd greatly recommend checking out Rudolf von Laban's movement theory and how that applies to people as well. The way we move, or don't move, is powerful. In the grand collage of a scene, act, or entire film, your movement choices and the differentiation between them are really where the core of your story is built. You must constantly be creating and subverting expectations with the types of movement that you're using. That's how you make each choice feel real, impactful, and grounded in the story, because the audience does not feel that your choices and types of movement are simply just one and the same. If you graphed your type of movement across the entire narrative arc of a movie, your death would be a straight line, or even a curved one at that. If you graphed a PTA movie in this sense, it would look more like a crazed heart monitor than any actual display of data. At the end of the day, it's all about the story. Every piece of movement, lens type, type of framing, written down in name only, should be able to communicate the emotional backbone or journey of a movie through merely words alone. That is visual literacy.
I think I locked it in, so I'm just going to play a little bit with the lighting at the end of this one. But in terms of the colors or just the texture of this shot, I think this is a good one. We're happy with it. Let's see it load up again. Yep, I like it. But we're not done yet. We're gonna... I am going to add a bit of lighting. So we're going to shape the light as like the final step here. And generally speaking, based on how I've been doing this so far, I tend to appreciate adding a bit more of like a mistier lighting. So that's where I drop the contrast, lift the black. I think that's probably enough. I don't need to do too much more to that, but I'm going to bring it up a bit. Oops. I'm going to stretch it out. Soften it up a little bit more and then bring it up again so it's not as extreme. Cool. And then I think I'm going to crop in just a bit, just because you can see in the bottom left, there's a little bit there. That's not like the cleanest, or it doesn't make a big difference, but I wonder if I can see if I can cut it out of there. I might not be able to with the... Oh, I guess I could do that if I do a 4x5. Okay, so now my question is it worth cropping to a 4x5 if we're not really changing much besides chopping off the sides? Is by chopping off the sides to remove some of the distractions worth the crop compared to if we just keep it in the original shot? So we either have this or we have this. I kind of like this framing, but there's also there's not anything wrong with it. Okay, so we're gonna keep this at like a 2x3. Why not? I think it's good, so we'll keep it. All right, I think this one turned out very nice. I'm happy with that. Daytor says, I say goodbye for today. Have a nice evening. Thank you very much, Daytor. As always, I appreciate you being a part of the stream. Have a guten Abend. Good night, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Okay, so yeah, this one's good to go. Because of how much time it took me to edit this, I'm probably not going to edit the other one that we had earmarked for review. But I am happy with this. Even the original is pretty nice. No, we're good. Okay, I'm second guessing myself now. Let me just create a duplicate. I'm going to reset the settings. There we go. So now we can see, here's our... Oh, dang it, where'd it go? Let me fix what I just did. This is the one I wanted to reset. Okay. So this is our original shot. As Colin Kelly would say, this is our negative, raw, unedited shot as is. And then here's our final result after putting it through the ringer in terms of all the grading and the fun stuff. But I think that's a pretty big transformation. I'd say like when I took this original shot, again, I generally don't like when the fur on the gorillas are like a very super purple color. It's just what you get, just how the way light, how the light hits like the black fur. It's kind of like with my hair, it's like if you see my hair through like sunlight, it'll look very purplish. I just don't think it's a nice look. It's not a very appealing color. So generally, at least I've seen in the past when I've been editing some of these gorilla shots, if it gets too purple, I try my best to find ways to mute it. So this was like one way to do it. Yeah, definitely darkened up the image quite a bit, but I kind of like it. It's not bad. All right. So we went with the darkish look, but we're good. This one, I'm not sure. It's just, again, not the best framing. It's not really... The baby is fully out of focus here. So I'm not sure if there's... And also I shot this super underexposed. Let's see. Maybe I'll play with this one later, but we obviously have much better ones to work with, so. All right, let's keep going. I want to see how far I can get with the gorillas. We got 1, 2. Oh yeah, we got some clean ones coming up as well. Actually, hold on. Let me see. It's now almost 11 p.m. 10:40 p.m. Because I have a bunch of other work I need to get done, and I need to eat dinner. So let me think. Do I keep working? I think this is probably a good place for me to stop. Yeah, because like it's almost 11. I need to eat my dinner, and then I mentioned I'm working on a few YouTube videos on the side here, so I really, before I fully pass out or something, I really want to just kind of work further on it. So this one, I mentioned this is like one of the videos I'm working on very, very shortly. Hopefully I can publish it in the next few days. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a slightly different flavor. What is this going to be? It's going to be my voiceover. It'll start with a few different B-roll footage of me, I guess, traveling around. And then it's going to be a photo montage for the rest of the... It's like not even less than 2 minutes long. I think it's just around 2 minutes long, actually. And it's just going to be some of the best photos I've taken with the 85mm lens across my travels. So some of these photos you guys will recognize because we have spent a lot of time on my past few streams working on them. And so now this is going to be the home of where I can then publish it. And so yeah, it'll just be a nice little video talking about the 85mm lens. Then I'm going to do one on the 35. And then I think the third video I was thinking of doing will be on the 135mm lens. And then possibly another one, but I figured that way it's not necessarily a trifecta, but we've got a fairly wide angle 35. Then we've got a fairly mid-range tele, I guess, or I don't know how you would describe an 85. And then we've got a little bit more punched in 135 as 3 different perspectives of how I can capture when I travel. So yeah, so I want to work on this. I need to work through episode 2 of my travel series. So I hope you guys, it's pinned on all the chats, but episode 1 I've published already on YouTube. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's the first of many episodes to come as I document 2 months of travel. And just kind of highlighting the best and the worst parts of the trip. Only best parts, I'm sure. But I hope you guys enjoy that as well. All right. So yeah, I think this is where I'm going to pause. I'm ready to eat my dinner. Thank you guys again for getting me across the 5-digit milestone. So we are officially in the 10K range. Actually, hold on. I said I shouldn't do this, but just for fun. Because I'm not bothered either way. Yes, we are still holding strong to 10,000. We are still at that 10,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. So all of you guys who are following me on YouTube, make sure not to unsubscribe, okay? You can be a dick, but make sure to resub, okay? But yeah, we've officially crossed into 10,000. So nothing has changed except for from my side. I will put this into the milestone of like we're doing something, right? And so hopefully I will continue doing some, you know, good stuff. I hope content that you guys find respectable and enjoyable, and yeah, continue live streaming and all that fun stuff. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to have another stream. It sounds like, or it seems like the gorillas maybe, fingers crossed, I'll be able to edit through all of them by the end of tomorrow's stream. I hope so, because then after that, maybe I'll have one more day of editing through the Uganda photos, and then I can proceed to Tanzania and kind of wrap up or start working through the Tanzania photos. Because yeah, I have a laundry list of things I need to get done. So as much as I pride myself in being methodical, I don't necessarily pride myself on being slow. So if I can improve one of those things, that's that. All right, enough yapping from me. Thank you guys for another good stream. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys tomorrow at